panelist today. Santosh, can you hear me?
Yes, Viju.
Okay. Are you here at Nila or at you are participating?
No, in Nila only. Like
Okay. Sneha, we can make Sneha also a co-host if she can. Sneha, you have become a co-host now, and now it is fairly simple as we have seen yesterday. Whoever comes, you can just the attendees you must be knowing. Then you can. Anuradha Shankar has joined, and I'll ask her. I'll make it promote to panelist. Yes. Her mic is not detected yet. Yes. Anuradha madam, can you hear me?
Yes, I can
Good
hear
morning.
you.
Good morning. Good morning. Where are you from? Your office at Ahalya. Okay.
Yes. They asked me to stay back here. So.
Oh, somebody should be there. We are also here. No, but I'll be going. I'll just start and I'll go because others are there, right? So our team, if there anything is required, then 120. You can just give a ring to 555 from the landline. Somebody will come to you.
Okay.
Sneha, you please keep the list. Keep watching the list of attendees, and whenever you see that a particular person should be in the panelist, you can promote him to the panelist. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Especially the guests who are coming in, right? Or all those people. Now you can see that you try. We are not going to do that. You just try whether you will be able to do that. Srijan has just joined as an attendee. You can promote.
I have, yeah.
Yeah, fine. Srijan has come. Yeah, fine.
Yes, sir. Was I supposed to do anything? I missed your voice.
Who, Srijan?
Yes, sir.
No.
make Srijan.
Yeah, Srijan is a co-host now, right?
Host. We'll make him the co-host.
Yeah. Srijan, what I was telling to Sneha is that those people who then once they join, they will be in the attendees list. We will have to promote them to the panelist. Then only their mic will be on. Okay. So the attendees are not allowed to speak. They do not have the mic permission. Yeah. You can raise hands and all. Yeah.
Okay, sure, sir. So I'll let the students know accordingly. They can put the messages in the we will have the chat.
They can chat. Yes.
Okay, sir. Okay.
And don't bring everybody to the panelist. Okay, maximum only those people who are talking or who are supposed to be there. That otherwise it will be a mess.
Yes, sir. We'll only try to bring the speakers. Other than that,
fine.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, Srijan, anything?
No, sir. I was going to ask for the anchor. He's here, Sugan. So I promoted. Just letting the anchor in on the panel. That is all right, sir.
Yes.
Okay.
Anybody who needs to share, do the presentation or something, may just inform us. We'll make them as a co-host. Only co-host can present. Okay.
Oh, okay, sir. We'll
Okay.
need that in the evening only. So right now it's fine.
Right now it's fine. Now nobody is going to present. Or,
Now, no.
No, sir. Only in the evening.
Professor Sunil is going to share slides.
yeah. Okay. No. Anyway, we'll make him.
Huh.
We'll make Professor Sunil as a thing. As per the other thing, other people like.
Keynote speakers, we don't know. They might share, so I think it's better.
We will
Yes.
make them. So
Yes.
when you require, please just put a message to host. Surely they will make them as a co-host.
Sure, sir. Sure.
Sneha and Srijan, if you want to communicate to us, you can put direct message instead of putting for everybody, right?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Or
sir.
you can put it to the panelist actually. When you check the chat,
No,
you can see that to the panelist. So
Yes.
special and individual people, that can be done. So that the unwanted information do not go to the participants, right?
Yes, sir. Understood.
Adit, Sojo, is
Hello?
Adit there?
Yes, sir.
Adit, yeah, we have to, that cloud storage, that has to be deleted. So if you when you get time, please move to the Google Drive, okay?
Yes, yes.
I think we have, otherwise, it is 10 GB left now, 85%.
Sneha, can you start?
Yes, sir, we can.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to IIT Palakad's third edition of the Coveted Industry Academia Conclave 2021. Our main event aims at building strong relationships between our academia and the industry by learning from one another. What could be a more suitable stage than our IIC for the same? For this spectacular event, we have many distinguished speakers from various domains who have taken out their valuable time in joining us today to share their industrial learnings, their expectations from us, and also enlighten us on their various exciting ventures. I would now like to invite our General Secretary to deliver the welcome address.
Thank you, Sugandhan. A very warm good morning to one and all present here, esteemed industry delegates, Mr. Harakopal Mangripudi, Honorable Director Professor P.B. Sunil Kumar, respected deans, esteemed faculty members, and all my dear friends. It is my honor and pleasure to welcome you all today to this event. Today is a very special day for all of us as we begin the third edition of the Industry Academia Conclave. The Industry Academia Conclave is the flagship event of IIT Palakkad, which acts as a conduit for this umpteen number of bits of information to be exchanged among us all, something at the end of the day for all of us to think about, something to cherish. And I feel delighted to say that from last year, which has been a year of uncertainties and hitherto unseen challenges, we as a people have grown and strived to move forward and make things better any way we can. We've had numerous institutions across the world collaborating on exhaustive fronts to tackle the pandemic any way we could. This spirit of perseverance and growth by innumerable people around the world has been the shining beacon for us all. And I feel overwhelmingly proud to say that we have had the same spirit at IIT Palakkad to strive for growth in these unprecedented times as well. The expansion of IAC as a two-day event, the transformation of the conclave from being a faculty-driven activity to a fully student-driven one, and the inclusion of sciences for the first time ever, the IAC itself is a stark example of the path of unrelenting and unwavering vision for growth, no matter the circumstances. And I'm sure many of our honored guests present here will have seen or felt the same enthusiasm and passion at their workplace despite the challenges and the hurdles. And I think it is the same mindset which brings us here today, even though kilometers and kilometers away, to expand our horizons and to forge new and meaningful relationships to serve all of humanity at large. With that in mind, I once again welcome you all to this grand event of collaboration among the industry and the academia. And I especially welcome and thank our honored guests for taking out their invaluable time to join us all. Thank you.
Thank you, Srujan. It is my honor and pleasure to welcome the Director of IIT Palakkad, Professor P.B. Sunil Kumar. Professor P.B. Sunil Kumar earned his PhD from the Raman Research Institute, Bangalore. After his postdoctoral research at the Institute of Mathematical Science, Chennai, and the Max Planck Institute for Colloids and Interfaces, Germany, he joined the Department of Physics at IIT Madras and now holds the position of a distinguished professor. He also served as the head of the physics department at IIT Hyderabad from 2009 to 2012 and as the head of the physics department at IIT Madras from the year 2012 to 2015. His current interests lie in the field of biological physics and soft condensed matter, and he has authored numerous papers and book chapters on a wide range of topics. Among his many achievements, the Professor M.V. Paili Award and the Fellowship of the Indian Academy of Science, Bengaluru, stand out. With that said, I welcome Professor P.B. Sunil Kumar to give the presidential address.
Good morning, everybody. The distinguished guests, invitees, my dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great pleasure to participate in and welcome all of you in this third edition of our Industry Academia Conclave. It is also great honor to have all our distinguished speakers today. I can see Hargopal already there, and we are all waiting to hear what they have to say. My role here is to mainly welcome you and give you just an overview of the IIT Palakkad. Shujan, how many minutes do I have? Because depending upon that, I will change that.
So 15 minutes.
15 minutes, yeah. So I will just share my slide, a few slides, okay, and that would be better. I don't have the permission to share. I think somebody has to give me permission to share. So I hope you're able to see my slide. Can you see my
Yes, sir.
slide?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Is it good or not good?
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
No, you're seeing the full screen or you are seeing only the... Are you seeing the full screen?
No,
No, sir.
we can see your
The presenter. right?
speaker
Presenter view, presenter view.
Sorry,
presenter.
I'll reshare it again. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. Okay, I'm not able to see that, unfortunately. Just give me a minute. I'm very sorry, but this is giving me a little bit of trouble. That's also not showing correctly. You're still not showing the same thing? Okay. So,
Still presenter view.
okay. I hope this
Yes.
is okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Sorry. I think I'm very extremely sorry about the time lost. So here, welcome again to IIT Palakkad, to all the participants and the distinguished guests. I'll just run through a brief thing about IIT Palakkad. As you all know, we started in 2015 and we are now about 1,000 students strong. And the main vision, the overall vision of the institute to be a leader in cross-disciplinary inquiries. And we promote collective growth in collaboration with all the other institutions in region, in the people, in the stakeholders in the region. Okay, and in terms of what is relevant to this particular meeting, we emphasize both on blue sky research and directed research, And we believe these the pillars of technology development. And our overall vision is to become our overall target. I don't say it's a vision, it's a target to become a 5,000 student campus in 10 years. That's maybe another 5 years from now. And the sketch of events so far, as I said, 2014 is one of when IIT Palakkad was actually, an IIT in Kerala was officially announced. And in 2015, January is when the activities actually started, with Palakkad identified as the place to host the IIT. And most of the activities started here. And by August that year, we already had the temporary campus and activities to start the acquisition of the land also started by that time. And 2016 is when we formed the society, and we had the first meeting of the society. It was actually IIT Palakkad started as a society, and but luckily for all of us, in that same year, Lok Sabha actually passed the amendment, the IIT's amendment bill, including all the 6 new IITs as part of the thing, and the society was dissolved and will become a full-fledged IIT actually in 2016. And in 2017, I took over charge as a director of this institute. And and then we started actually, initially we started the work of the Nila campus, where some of our facilities are running now. Okay, and with the main aim is to graduate the first set of students from our permanent campus. The alumni, the first batch of alumni comes out, they should have a memory of our campus. That was our aim, and we partly succeeded in that. Even though we couldn't host them there, we could have the graduation ceremony at the main campus. Okay. And 2020 again, so 2020 onwards, we had this strange year, time, but we have managed to do many things in 2020 also. Okay, and we had the chairman, board of governors taking over that day. That year, we had a formal inauguration of our Nila campus and the formal foundation stone laying of the main campus. So that is the event so far in this journey. We continue the journey. And as I said, our focus is on cross-disciplinary inquiries and education. So I just quote from NEP 2020 here. For the new education policy, it says that preparation of professionals in terms of professional education, it says preparation of professionals must involve in education in ethics and involvement in ethics and importance of public purpose should be actually conveyed, and education in the discipline and in education for practice must be emphasized. So it must certainly centrally involve critical and interdisciplinary thinking, discussion, debate, research, and innovation. For this to be achieved, professional education should not take place in the isolation of one specialty. Now, this is the common NEP 2020. That this institute has been actually practicing this from its inception, and I'm very happy to say so. And we have been putting many things in place. And just to give a vision right now, the vision statement, the way we have drafted it as of now, says that IIT Palakkad envisions to be a foremost place of learning, innovation, and discovery to any individual who enters or gates. Okay, a source for knowledge, technology, and policy for the betterment of humanity. So that is the way we are moving along with our vision and the vision guide given to us by the new education policy. And to put this in practice, and we have been doing many things, and we have been, for example, this industry academia conclave itself is an example of that, right? So this is the 3rd edition of it. So our commitment to connect with industry and commitment to connect with other institutions around is very firm. We have actually also put up we've started many major activities in the last years. We have now overhauling our UG curriculum, regulations and curriculum, again with the aim to connect to all of those things correctly. and we are setting up a new academic administration, a structure for new academic administration to facilitate cross-disciplinary inquiries, to actually to encourage and cross-disciplinary inquiries. And then we are doing a lot of things to connect with the industries, to co-teach courses and minor streams, and offer minor streams. Actually, I'm very happy to say Hargopal here today. He's already participating in one of the things. Okay. And we also, set up a whole in the Institute Advisory Council here. Again, Hargopal is a member of that council, and we have members in this council from academia. We have members from public, corporate, public institutions and we have people from industry, people who are currently active in industry, people who have retired from industry. So it's a kind of combination of a lot of people, and this council is also to help us drive our industry and cross-disciplinary inquiries. And so I'm putting this up to say that we are firmly committed to have a strong interaction with industry. Okay, just run you through the institute. The institute is now about, as I said, about nearly 1,000 students, and we have BTech, MTech, MS, PhD, MTech, MSc, all programs. And the programs we are actually running today are 4 BTech programs in civil engineering, computer science, electrical and mechanical engineering, and we have MTech in geotechnical, manufacturing, data science, and system on chip design, computing and mathematics, power systems and power electronics, and MSc in physics, chemistry, and mathematics. So these are the courses programs which we are running now. We look forward to starting new programs in the coming years. We have set up a career development center, again relevant to today's discussions, is again connection with the industry. Okay, the Career Development Center is not just a placement center, placement orientation, career counseling, soft skills development, internship placement, job placement, all of that are part of this Career Development Center. Okay, and the Career Development Center has been reasonably successful, I would say actually quite well in terms of placement, and in the last year, maybe not so successful in terms of internship because of the various pandemic. As you all know what the situation was in the last year, but fortunately for us, our placement has still been going reasonably strong, and we have been having a reasonable placement with industry in the core industry. So that is about the development. Maybe I will skip this slide because of the thing. And we also established a continuing education cell, and this is again important because I mentioned that co-teaching courses with industry, and I feel this particular center is going to play a lot of an important role in that, because when I say co-teaching, it is not only just for our students, it is also for industry people. We could teach courses for both our students and for industry, retraining people in the industry and bringing them up to the current new knowledge, etc. So in both cases, this could be very useful cell, and we plan to do this through the continuing education cell, and to make it possible this is an era of online teaching, etc. So to make this possible, we also set up a state-of-the-art studio so that people can actually do these courses from the thing. And this is even within our limited facility of the transit and temporary campuses, we have managed to get this done. And as we go into our new campus in the coming year, okay, we will have many such studios set up. We already planned 2 more there, and every phase will add at least 2 more such studios in the main campus. So we're looking forward to all that. And we have the thrust areas defined now. This is again an ongoing exercise, and so we as faculty come in and industry interests come in, okay, we would this thing also will evolve a little bit more. We are still a budding institution, okay, and this has to evolve a little bit more depending upon the participation of everybody, all stakeholders involved. So that is one. And I would say that we have an industry collaboration and sponsored research thing. I'm sure you will hear more about it, so I'm not going into the details of this. And we have established many research centers. Okay, again, interdisciplinary research centers. We have an advanced VLSI system and architecture lab. We have a computational imaging lab. We have now established a Environmental Sciences and Sustainable Engineering Center called Essence, which is going to be inaugurated in the coming month. And we have a physics and chemistry, chemical biology laboratory, again interdisciplinary. And we have set up for research in education in data science. It's almost transdisciplinary, I would say, because it spans almost across the whole institute. Both Essence and CREDS would actually span the whole institute. So it's really transdisciplinary subjects. So these centers have been established, and research centers. And to facilitate research in this thing, we also put central research facilities. Okay, and the idea is again to have concentrate, all the facilities and for research available into a few centrally managed centers, so that everybody have access to it, and even for also for innovation and entrepreneurship activities. Also, these facilities will be available. So again, I'll rush through this. And this is two examples of that. Is one which is now currently active. One is the instrumentation facility, and then micro nano fabrication facility. And then we have this materials and manufacturing engineering facility and the thing. So again, you will hear more about this. We have a startup and technology incubation center at IIT Palakkad. It's called TechIn, and I can see Anuradha there. I'm sure she'll be talking about it sometime to you. Okay, so I will not again go through this. But again, I just wanted to say that this particular center is also set up, okay, to collaborate with industry and collaborate with regional institutions, and of course slowly expand into collaboration with all institutions in the country and abroad. Okay? So this again a very core of this, the core philosophy of this center is also that to have a hub, okay, where a lot of innovation activity happens. Okay, and again, some particular themes has to evolve in this center, and I'm sure you'll hear from Anuradha about that. We, as you probably already know, or you will hear more about this again, we have a technology incubation hub on intelligent collaborative system established at IIT Palakkad. Okay, this is by the government of India. Okay, and again, focus of this center is looking at software and hardware end-to-end solutions for intelligent solutions for improving the energy efficiency and safety in all possible applications. So this is a center which is started last year again in IIT Palakkad, and you will probably hear more about this center in the coming days. So just to conclude, and I just want to say that we have again two campuses, one in Ahilya, okay, which is a temporary campus where we have over 55 faculty and 700 of our students stay there. We have 4 hostels there, okay, and we have this Nila campus. We have about 40 faculty staying, cabins, office space there, and we have about 300 students in 3 hostels in IIT Palakkad, in Nila campus, right? And this is a kind of a bird's eye view of the Nila campus, okay, which is in the permanent campus site, and where I said we have set up most of the advanced facilities we have now are set up here, okay, so that this place will stay as it is. And once we move completely into the main campus, which is adjacent to this, okay, we will convert this into a innovation incubation center, conferencing facility, and things like that. Again, this is a bird's eye view of our main campus, and you can see on the left-hand side is the Nila campus, and the right-hand side, what you see is the main campus and the construction, and most of the construction is happening near this water body, the 2 water bodies which you see. That is where most of the construction is happening. And this is our master plan, and the pink buildings which you see here, pink will marked, are the ones which are being under construction at this time. At this time, as I speak, this is where the construction is happening. Okay. So let me just now stop saying that our phase 1A, we are going to go to 2,500 students and 7 years starting from our incubation. That means by next year we should have actually finished this, but various reasons we have going a little slower because of construction delays. Okay, we hope to do this in another 2 years. We should be moving into this, and then. So this part of the thing that is phase 1A, where we have only 1,200 students have been finished this year. Again, it will go to next year, and then we will start expanding it into 2,500 students. Another 2-3 years, we should be there. Which is that. I welcome all of you once again, and I wish you a very, very good discussion. And I hope we will have, our interaction with the industry. I hope will not just stop at these conclaves. Okay, and we have found continued interactions in the past two conclaves, and I'm sure this will also lead to more and more such interactions, and we will have a very close collaboration with industry, and our students will enjoy this interaction, and they will also get more industry oriented. Yeah. Thank you very much, and have a very nice day ahead.
Thank you, sir. I hope you're all excited to hear what our prominent speakers have to say today. Now let's move on to the first keynote address of our day. To deliver the talk, we have Mr. Haragopal Mangipudi, founder, Gunaka LLC, to speak on the topic, Building Products That Everyone Loves. Welcome, sir. I would now like to invite our Chief Innovation Officer and CEO Tekken, Mrs. Anuradha Shankar, to brief more on our speaker.
Can you all see my screen? Ms. Anuradha, you're on mute.
So we can see your screen, but it's not on, now it is on presentation mode. I will quickly introduce Mr. Haragopal Mangipudi. But before that, you are the sum total of everything you have heard, eaten, smelt, or have been told. It's all there. Everything influences each of us. And because of that, I try to make sure that my experiences are positive. This is not what I have said. This is the quote from Maya Angelou, a poet and civil rights activist. So with that, I would like to introduce Mr. Haragopal. He is the founder of Gunaka, which offers product management expertise, a co-creator of FinUno. He teaches at IIM Bangalore and IIT Bangalore. He is on the board of ISPMA and recently a member of the Advisory Council of IIT Palakkad. He is a strategic advisor to a list of PEs and ex-global head of Finacle. He was also the ex-member of the Executive Council of Infosys, a distinguished alumni awardee of IIM Bangalore of 2016. Over to you, Mr. Haragopal.
Thank you, Ms. Anuradha, dear Professor Sunil, my good friends, Professor Mula and rest of the faculties, and industry colleagues, as well as my dear students. It's indeed an honor and privilege to be in this conclave and also be associated with IIT Palakkad. And when I reflect very quickly about my recent visit, what makes IIT Palakkad choose somebody like me to be in that, speak as a keynote address or opening keynote or in the advisory board, is that essentially some of the good work my colleagues, smart engineers like all of you, have done over the last couple of decades or maybe 3 decades. So what I will do is I will try and reflect on the 3.5 decades I spent building products, because that's what is my identity. So being associated very luckily with one of the first and the largest made in India software products, and of course various other products. And so now my opportunity is not so much about building products alone, but building communities, companies, as well as professionals who build products. That's what I'm associated with ISPMA, which is the global not-for-profit product management body. I'm on the board and I write syllabus, as well as I teach product management in a few institutes, essentially with the passion. And of course, I mentor and coach some of the product companies globally. So what we will distinguish before I go to the presentation, there is a small riddle in this first slide. Can anyone guess what this riddle is? This is not usual cover slide you see in presentations. I know we have 163 smart minds in the room, and you will come up with that. And feel free to raise. And I can't see the chat window, but anyway, speak up wherever you want during the session. Okay, my session is going to be very short. We'll try, and Ms. Anuradha, we'll have some Q&A, right, towards the end?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I think out of 35, maybe we'll try and keep 10 minutes for questions, or if you want more, but that's a spirit, okay? Before that, I want to tell a small story. You know, guys, I'm in the intersection of industry and academia, and I see both closely. And this is the story I used to narrate to every batch of fresh engineers before they are actually baptized into being product engineers in my teams, and which is very important that you hear. I'm sure I will be interacting with you. One smart engineer like you, or a bunch of them, went and talked to 3 stone cutters, you know, long time back. And they asked the first one and say, "Sir, what are you doing?" He says, "You know what? I'm cutting this stone. Can you see these? I have these specifications, you know, 12 by 7 by 3, whatever. And these are my tools. And I normally cut about 7 or 8 in a day." That's what he says. And they go to the second one and say, "You know what, sir, what are you doing?" He says, "I'm cutting these stones. I understand these are going to be used in building something, some wall or something. So they have to be symmetric, not only about the stones which I cut yesterday and today and tomorrow, but with all those what my other fellow stone cutters are doing, right? So they have to be symmetric, they should be looking good, etc." And then they go to the third one and he says, "You know what? I'm building a palace or a castle," right? So all 3 of them were given the same set of tools, same amount of training, same amount of briefing. But when these engineers went and talked to their supervisor, they said, out of the 7, there are at least 2 rejects in the first one, maybe 1 reject in the second one, whereas the third one is producing 2 or 3 more every day. So what is the moral of the story? Essentially, it doesn't matter what others talk about your work. What you see and what you understand, what your big picture matters. Because this is very essential for those of you who are entering into the industry, whether it's in 1 year or 2 years or 5 years, is that what separates you from the million others is not about your scores, your academic excellence. Those are necessary but not sufficient conditions. They give you entry, but for you to perform and deliver what you're delivering in terms of the product, your ability to envision what the end product is going to and how it is going to be used and what ultimately people would feel about. So the third one says, "You know what? This is the main fire where my stone, which I just cut now, will be there. And every day, so many presidents and prime ministers are going to walk there. And even a little bit of a mistake would look pretty ugly there. So I just want this to be beautiful." So even the satisfaction which the stone cutter was getting out of his job was different from what the first one was getting. All right. So now let's get to our topic. This is what I was talking about, the riddle. Right? English is a funny language. In fact, that's why I try to give you some flavors of Oriental languages. In fact, when I was a product manager, well before many of you were born, way back in, say, 93, so I was also interestingly learning Japanese. So we always try to understand, right? What are the similarities which you knew about? So I studied until I think undergraduate or pre-graduation or intermediate or 12th, you say, in vernacular language. So I was trying to understand what are the similarities, etc. So we find that the verb comes last in many of the Oriental languages. So let me start with the excitement of the product first. So who are we building this product for? And what do they want? What do they need? What do they love about? And what does the wow mean to them? Is this the benefit of first use? Is it the value of the product? Is it something which is unexpected but very well delivered? Is it something that you are able to bring in with every use and excitement? All these are good from a user's point of view. But your everyone is not just the users alone. Who else are there in your everyone? Your investors, those who put in money to build this product, who are going to patiently wait for these outcomes, right? So in this everyone, you need to really understand who are the stakeholders, and then afterwards your team. They need to wake up every day and get up and feel excited to come to work and build a product. So what is the excitement for your team? So you need to understand what the needs are, what would they love, and not just one time, but every time. And who are these everyone? And these customers, when you talk about the users or whatever product you're talking about, is that company or individuals, where do they stay? Which geography? What are their demographics? Which age group? Are they using themselves or are they being assisted? So understanding everyone is very important. And then you're talking about the product, right? So the why of the product, once we have thought about, that is everyone needs. And then afterwards, you have to define your everyone and you have to define these needs. Then you really look at the how, what, and when of the products, right? So the why, then what, then how and when, right? That's when you start building. Make sense? So in a way, what we are talking about is a product is not just born out of a simple or brilliant idea, somebody sitting in the corner of some institute or some company, but essentially the outside-in perspective of who is going to use it. And I'm sure all of you, when you wake up, you are using, whether it is digital products or physical products or cyber physical products, etc. So here we're talking about, you start with the desirability, which is what, do they need this? Whoever are your customers or potential customers, whether it's companies, whether it is hospitals, whether it's banks, whether it is a rocket launching station, or whether it is a manufacturing company, whatever it is, first thing is that, do they need this? Because when we did this study, at ISPMA, we found 82 to 87% of products were built on the planet which no one needed at the first place, right? Which is a staggering huge number, not because those products are not good, not because of those products were not very well engineered and architected, but they were not needed in the first place. So when you're talking about the customers or the users, you're looking at what are the alternatives do they have. Say, for example, if you're looking at a phone, what is the alternative for that? Right? So it is talking in person or going in person. So what better way to do that? And so many times you really realize that there are many things, the alternatives are a lot better than what you're creating, than you should be creating. So once you sorted the desirability, who needs it, when do they need it, what are her or his alternatives, and how much are they spending on these alternatives, then you figure out a clear map of what you're going to build. Then you come to the feasibility. Can we do this? And it is not, can I do this? Can we do this? In this, we have not only our team, but also all the collaborators in the value chain. That means what? If you're writing software, you need somebody to do the operating system as well as the corresponding hardware for that. Similarly, how do you really take it to the market? You need some folks to channel partners to do that. So here, the feasibility is all the engineering skills, ability to produce a very robust, scalable, as well as looking amazingly easy to use for the customers. That is the engineering skills about. In fact, when we were talking about in our conversations with Ms. Anuradha and team with Tekin, in fact, you as IIT Palakkad have indeed a significant amount of advantage in offering this engineering capabilities to many of the startup and industry world, because They may be very good understanding the customer proximity they have, they're talking to the markets, and they would have the business skills, but they may not have the depth and width of engineering capabilities would you have. So from that point of view, this engineering skill in terms of the feasibility, ability to validate the feasibility of an idea for production and mass production to the scales which we're talking about, to be delivered to different segments in different markets, in different geographies, in different time conditions, in terms of different temperatures, different weather conditions, etc. That's where you have a significant amount of advantage for this industry, and academia partnership. And the final one is the viability in terms of, because your business ultimately would not want to just do the charity. Of course, you as consumers, you get lots of products free. But believe this, whenever you use a product for free, you are part of the product. That means what? If I'm using Facebook, then my analytics, my usage analytics are used to really sell some other service to another customer. That's where I'm being a product. All right. So the viability part, essentially at what volume, at what value does this product become viable, right? That means what? The market determines the price, we determine the cost. Can I really make sure that the revenue minus profit is cost, right? That is where the business side of things come. So as much as we want to really see that the products everyone loves is all about the desirability, your team should love the product. Should they really feel that fulfilled? Like, for example, when we built the product, way back in '93, I said, look, 3/4 of the planet is covered by water and rest is for us. At that point of time, we were just doing a project for a financial institution in India. And everybody thought either I was being sarcastic or something else, because neither India was known for products in software space, nor Indian banking was known as a global benchmark for the industry. But then now today, the same product has more than 1 billion end consumers where lives are being impacted. That means if 7 people have bank accounts, one of them is on that product, across 100 countries, across 6 continents, etc. So what it means is your ability to really look at the big picture is very essential for building great products. So let me quickly summarize a few thoughts on what are the key differentiators. So I'm not really putting out too many messages which can clutter. I just want you to remember all that what we talked about is your journey begins not by building the products, but everyone loves. Okay, you start with everyone. Who is everyone? What do they love means? What do they need means? Then what the product, how am I building? And then come to the build, right? So here is the intersection which you guys are in. Both are important, invention as well as innovation. What is the difference? So invention is the first time developing an idea, prototyping it, and then proving it that it works. Whereas innovation is where you are actually creating many use cases, how this invention could be useful for different people. That means what? You heard of this in English calling, don't reinvent the wheel, right? So invention of the wheel was a big deal, right? For humanity or mankind. Now, once the wheel is invented, then whether you create tanker or whether you get a car or a cycle or motor or whatever it is, you could do many other things. Those are all the innovations. Using this singular invention called wheel, you are able to deliver value, right? So that is what about innovation. Instant versus delayed gratification. If there is one singular message I learned from my mentor during my, early days, and of course, even much longer as well, is that if you are building something worthwhile, if you're building something good, if you're building for the planet, sometimes it takes time, right? So this is very important for your generation because you all wanted, we started many decades back the instant food part of it, but now we want everything instant gratification. So some of the good things do take time, because you need to really look at, if you are really creating a product of planetary propositions, or you need to really look at how am I really looking at the various needs, said, unsaid, felt, unfelt, and stated, unstated, and future needs. To do all those things, it does take time. That means what? Today you look at it. Some of the good features to build over a part of life cycle, you not only need the technology to be mature, but you need the market to be mature to use that. In my own life, when I created an intelligent assistant, the Finuno is a classic example of that. That intelligent assistant was the world's first multimodal, context-aware, interactive, collaborative, and a conversational interface where people can talk to an intelligent assistant and do their transactions. You can say, okay, buy this at market. That means if I'm using a brokerage example, I just press a Procter & Gamble or a TCS and say, and then afterwards it's taking this multi-model inputs and forming a input and understands the grammar that buy and at this market means market rate, etc. And then it puts through a transaction, it is able to reduce the processing time, etc. But for that to establish, even if I have my product ready, if the speech engine is not mature enough to really cut down the ambient noise, or let's say the context-aware functionality in terms of what is the context I'm using, not only the geographical context, but various other application device contexts, then you are not there yet. So you need to really space out and understand what it takes to be a great product, and you don't rush it based on what you have now. And this is a very, very important element, at least for the students. Most of you have been told being a great problem solver is good, and it is indeed. And you're all here in this institute because you're all good in problem solving. But what the industry needs is not just the problem solvers, but problem definers. What do you mean by the problem definer? Now, look at, there are many products which you use, you never needed at the first place. But now the product is there, now you can't live without it, right? There are many such examples. For example, the social, apps context is when the Facebooks or whatever, all that social apps are not there. Even then, even my grandmother had her, what you call the bragging needs to show off her jewelry. But she had a limited social interaction in which she was able to show off her jewelry. Now, somebody figured out that, you know what, it would be much better in a globalized context that I'm able to give you an opportunity to show off your holiday, your new bike, your car, your new acquisitions, or whatever it is, to many people show, then create your own newspaper. That means what? A problem definition is being able to spot that set of needs, not just the wants, and be able to address that proactively and create a product, right? So the fundamental difference, I used to, I spent all my life in the software company, but building the products. The fundamental difference between a software engineer and a product engineer is, are you a problem solver or a problem definer? Because no one is going to give you a requirement. No one is going to say this is what I want. So, but they decide whether they want to use it or not when you build it. So if there is one message you need to really look at, you want to get into the products or not, it is very important that you be a problem definer. And finally, this is what we started with. Most often we are limited by our own imagination. And if you think that, and because you're all forming your own perspectives on career in industry, and you need to really look at, if you want to build products, products could be anything. It could be, automation equipment. It could be for the armed forces, or it could be IoT devices. It could be various other things. But you need to really look at, what am I going to do and who am I? Because most often your thoughts are shaped by your immediate career objectives and career perspectives, your placements, etc. But those are very transient and those are very easy to achieve. Trust me, all of you, without any exception, all of you will find good jobs and all of you will do very well financially. And none of you will be out of jobs and none of you will not get into a situation of unemployment. But if you are not able to visualize the kind of a product the world needs, and then you really look at what do I need to invent and what do I need to innovate based on the prior inventions, then you are losing a great amount of your time in the great institution like IIT, solving a problem which you are going to anyway solve, once you are out of the college, that is to get a job. So focus your energies, focus your time, focus your thought process in solving those, creating those products, inventing those products, and innovating those products, and which can really solve local problems, global problems. We get from time to time, COVID is a classic example where we had to accelerate many things in digitalization, which we were thinking we had time. Now, Industry 4.0 is coming, which means actually every product conceivable which you use so far is going to be enabled with information systems or data enabled. That means what? You would have lots of sensors, lots of data, based on that, you are able to use that. Say, for example, somebody who is manufacturing routers. Now, a router is a router is a router. You could have 300 meters or 500 meters, 250 meters, etc. But you cannot really get a huge amount of differentiation by adding the telecom features of that or network features of that alone. But if you are able to put some kind of a parental control on that, then a parent would be much happier to pay a $20 subscription or 2,000 rupee subscription every month on that kind of a product. All right, so I can see many questions coming up. So let me pause here and take some questions. Ms. Anuradha, that's okay? We still have time, right?
Yes, sir, that's okay. I'd request Shrujan to start asking the questions that are in the chat box.
Yes, sure, ma'am. So, yeah, I request all students to put all the questions in the chat box. Meanwhile, sir, if I may, I have one question.
Yes.
Yes, sir. So, how was your, you said you also had a mentor. So how was your experience? How would you describe your whole experience, working in that scenario, like under your mentor?
With a mentor?
Yes, sir.
Oh man, he was extremely tough, and both on himself as well as others. So I'm glad he was. Even now, and many of you would know incidentally, and I joined Infosys when we were about 300 people strong. So right from how to prepare for a business meeting, which pocket you put your visiting cards to, in terms of how do you really make sure the font is good enough for all the audience to look at. But one thing I realize is from he used to say, you look good when your customers look good. That's one very interesting adage I learned. Ultimately, no matter whatever product you do, if it is not making them look good, then you're failed. So that whole business orientation, and then I already talked about some of the things like your revenue minus profit is cost. In my business, in product business, it's very difficult because you need to take a 8-quarter view of investment or even more before your product is ready and get money from the market. Whereas he wouldn't, if you do not make a 27% margin, you are not there in the room. So it's good to have mentors who really stretch you. In fact, I'm myself coach many companies in different parts of the world. So one thing I always say is that I never coach for what you are. I always coach for who you should be, right? Then the gap is known to you, and then we'll figure it out what needs to be done on that. So I think having mentors or role models is very important, and you find lots of role models both in your academic curriculum, because you have amazing professors and leaders in the institute, and try and see different role models from the industry as well, so whom you could watch vicariously, and you would be able to learn from them and try it out. So it need not be one mentor or one role model. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Definitely. I think it was a very motivating answer to to reflect back upon. So we also have questions from students now, so I'll move to that quickly. One student asks, Aryuman asks, initially when social media was developed, what problem it was supposed to solve, sir? Or what do you say? Yes.
Okay, so in a way, I'll give you a broader answer, because it may not be good to mention a particular company, but let me give you examples. When Jeff Bezos created Amazon, for example, as a platform, if he said that, look, I'm a behavioral intelligence company, no one would have invested and no one would have cared. So all he tried to look at is that I try and solve one particular problem of cataloging books and be able to ship, because that is one space where consumers were finding it extremely hard to put those, be able to choose. And similarly, whether it's a Facebook or before that Orkut or various other things, they all wanted to really look at that behavioral analytics. How do we really understand the behavior of somebody who is consuming the technology, so that we are able to give them good products which before they ask, right? So for example, when I created an intelligent assistant, it had a not only multimodal feature, but a kind of a ML algorithm which learns from you. That means what, in a stock market context, if I'm buying everything, a particular stock, whenever it is dipped by 3%, so next time, even if I'm on a flight, it should be able to buy them. So in a way, many of the behavioral, the social apps have come with the idea of translating or actually be able to give real-time analytics to the companies who are advertising that. That is the reason why we all get the product free. So we are not consumers for those. We are actually part of the product. We are giving them the data, either aggregated data, and of course, thankfully now with the privacy bills, we won't give our actual data they won't use, but otherwise they were using our data to service various requests from the business industry. Have I answered that question?
Yes, sir. I do believe so. Of course, if the student feels, if the particular student feels any doubt, he can put more something in the chat.
Yeah, sure. You can always reach out.
Yes, sir. So there is another question from Siraj. He asks, do science students need collaboration with engineer students to develop a product, despite them knowing about the technologies which has to be implemented in the PTT?
Okay, the knowing has a different meaning. It's know what, know why. I was saying, know how part of it. Do you know what it is or how it is? So depending on, it's always good to collaborate. And because even when I was building the product, I had globally at least 40 partners at various levels, right from the operating system to database to, local flavors, building these, etc. So it's good. It's always good to complement the skills, because you don't know what you do. In a way, when I mentor startups, I always try to pair up people from, let's say, IITs with IIMs or whatever. The advantage is that, they bring in the flavors of both business as well as the engineering skills. So in a way, you decide based on the product, whether you are able to, between the collaborators, you are able to address all the desirability, feasibility, and viability.
I think that answers the question very well, sir. And we have one more from he asks, sir, you talk about a software engineer and a product engineer, differentiating them by problem solver and problem definer. But what are other key ways to differentiate them?
No, see, I don't want to brand anyone. This is not a generic difference, because the way software industry evolved, we've been greatest advantage. We added to innumerable. If you talk about few $100 billion export, that does not really quantify the value our software industry has done to global business. So, but the thing is that the service industry is a lot more custom developed pieces based on a specific conversation for a customer for certain requirements. Your ability to understand, comprehend, and imagine. For example, when I was building a product, I used to, those days, I didn't have the camera phones with sophisticated recording, etc. I used to actually carry a handy cam. Imagine a French bank using my product in China, and how do these customers react? My engineering team would not know. So I used to record, and this is how the interactions would be there. So that visualization is very important. So the differentiations are not so much at a fundamental level. All of us have the problem solving ability to, but the defining part is also important to take the punts or the bets, because it is much easier in a service context, because they order something and you deliver. If they don't use it or if they can't use it, it is their problem. But in a product context, whatever you created, it better work. If it doesn't, no one misses a beat. Second thing is that if you are not able to, for example, I was giving a cell phone, if the cost of the cell phone is 23,000 rupees, if I produce for 23,010 rupees, no one is going to buy. Right? So I need to figure it out how I am able to do that. So the whole working backwards in terms of understanding the value of the feature. Let me give you one, I don't know how much time we have, a simple example. Many years back, almost a decade back, one software engineer who was doing a custom piece for a bank in Rajasthan, he said that, what, Hara, they are giving X lakhs of rupees for developing one time, but the customer is going to derive 5 crores rupees of profit every day using this feature, every day. And that is product thinking to me. That means, instead of doing a custom piece, if I productize and sell it to different banks, different parts of the world, then you do a rev share model rather than just one-time license, then your business is very different. So it's not about what you build, how do you monetize? Do you understand the value? That is a very important difference. If you want to build products, you need to really understand the value which it's going to create. Okay, I guess we are running out of time. I don't want to eat into a coffee break or other sessions. We can always have question and answers offline. Such a joy being back to this IIT Palakkad family. Thank you, Professor Sunil and Ms. Anuradha, for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for joining us and taking our questions.
All right.
And also for the wonderful talk. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Can I exit now?
Thank you. Yes,
Right.
thank you, Mr. Haragopal, for that wonderful stories as well and building a product that everyone loves, as well as emphasizing feasibility, desirability, and viability, and how we have to define problems more than just solve them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks a lot.
So alone we can do so little, together we can do so much, should be the motto of this industry academia conclave. And to add to our knowledge, we hopefully have with us Dr. Venukopal Shankar, our next speaker. Has he joined, Sneha?
Ma'am, he'll be joining soon, but it's actually a short break time till 10:10.
Okay. Okay, fine. So then we will introduce him after he joins.
Yes, ma'am, that would be good.
Okay. So participants, we have a short break for 10 minutes till 10:10. Hello, Dr. Venukopal Shankar. How are you?
Hello. Very good to see you. It's been a long while. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Very nice. Great.
How are you?
Very good. Doing fine. We're all still working from home and work is going on fine. Everybody's got adapted to this new routine. So it's all fine. Great. How are things there? You have opened the classes now?
Online.
Great. Great. And how did that hackathon event go? Came out
Oh,
well?
it went well. We've got 3 teams that are incubated now.
Excellent. Excellent. Give me just 2 minutes. Let me
No
organize the
issues.
presentation. I'll connect with you once I just get the slides ready. Just give me 2 minutes.
You want to test
Thanks.
out whether you can screen share?
No. That is fine. That's not a problem. Okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm ready now.
Okay. So we can get
Typically,
started.
how long is this session? About half an hour?
Yes, 35 minutes, I think.
Perfect. Sounds good.
Yeah. So we had Mr. Haragopal Mungipodi as our first speaker, and so anyone alone can do so little, but together we can do more. And to add to our knowledge, we have Dr. Venukopal Shankar, currently VP at Mahindra & Mahindra. He is heading technology, innovation, intellectual property, and technical capacity building. He leads technology innovation projects in automotive and farm domains with a focus on creating sustainable technologies for the future. He's also the Dean of the Mahindra Technical Academy and leads efforts on technical capability building for the entire organization. He's focused on creating technology innovations in sustainable mobility with an excellent track record of materials innovation and new product development. He has managed global cross-functional teams to deliver technologies that are critical to the business growth. He's a co-inventor on 10 issued US patents and 10 Indian patents and patent applications and various technical publications to his credit. He developed a proprietary system innovation method, innovation flow, and coached 1,000+ innovators. He's also been a TEDx speaker. His earlier held positions are Director Technology Planning at Cummins for 3 years, Innovation Leader at Honeywell for 2 years, Principal Scientist GM R&D Dove for 2 years, Visiting Professor at Technology Innovation Management at Symbiosis Institute of Business Management for 2 years. He has an degree from IIM Bangalore and has done his doctorate at ISC Bangalore in material science. He was also the awardee of the Best Thesis Award and Professor K.P. Abraham Gold Medal in 1997. Over to you, Dr. Venukopal Shankar.
Thanks, Dr. Anuradha Shankar. Thanks for this opportunity. This is the first time I get to interact with IIT Palakkad. I've been hearing so much about your institution, but I was really looking forward to this interaction. So I'm very happy about this. And what I thought I could possibly share today is the kind of the future technologies that's shaping the future of mobility. Since I'm from the automotive sector, I thought I'll give a perspective for what is happening in the automotive space. Also share with students and your faculty what kind of future skills will be required for us to contribute to all these big shifts that are happening in the mobility space. That's what I plan to share today. And just give me a moment. I'll share my screen. Okay. Can you confirm if you can see my screen?
Yes, sir. It's visible.
Okay. Thank you so much. So friends, very happy to be with you all. I'm Shankar. I lead technology innovation for the automotive and the farm business of Mahindra, based at the Mahindra Research Valley in Chennai. Today, what we thought we could discuss with you about is what are the future skills that mobility engineers would need. I have a background in science. I did my PhD in materials from IIC Bangalore. I also picked up an executive management degree from IIM Bangalore. But what I am truly is, I'm a very active inventor. I love working with young inventors and innovators. I coach them, and I'm also active inventing on my own and filing patents and getting them into new products. This is what keeps me busy, and this is what I really enjoy. Let's talk about what is really happening in this mobility space. And there is a lot that we can talk about. And I write a regular column in this Society of Automotive Engineers. This column is called Mobility Engineer 2030, where we talk about what are those future skills that we will all need to contribute to this. So I'm just going to give you a snapshot of all those discussions today. Typically, from a student perspective, when I get to visit various campuses and interact with the students and faculty, I represent the automotive industry, and there is a lot of questions around what is the future of this particular industry, because there are so many new technologies coming in. So what are those technologies like electric, autonomous, connected, shared mobility? What are those that are shaping the future of mobility products, both globally and also in the Indian context? And more importantly, I get questions about how will the future jobs look like in this industry? And more importantly, what new skills do I need to acquire these jobs and become industry ready? And of course, how can I learn these new skills in a short time? So I thought I would try to address some of these questions as we go along in the presentation today. Fine. I'm going to broadly talk about two set of skills. The first is the domain skills, which in your case is the engineering skills related to automotive or mobility engineering. The second is a set of cognitive skills, which are equally important as compared to the domain skills. Let's look at both today. Of course, I'm sure you're all been tracking the developments in the automotive industry. You know the kind of disruptions that have been happening in the form of electric vehicles, replacing the ICE, the internal combustion engine vehicles. And the changes, the shifts have already happened. The next 5 years, you will see a big shift from ICE to electric vehicles. The next big change is autonomous driving. So there are 5 levels of autonomy. And in the next 5 years, you will see vehicles at least till the 3rd level of autonomy, which will be driver assist features like parking assist and so on. And this is very intense activity going on, and most of the new vehicles, we are launching a new vehicle in a week from now. So most of these new vehicles would have this semi-autonomous features. And the best one is the smart and the connected features, which allow you to stay connected and generates a lot of data. And the analytics of this data leads us to very good insights and help us to create value for the customers. And of course, the last one is the mobility on demand or shared mobility, which as active users of Ola and Uber, we are all familiar with the benefits that this brings. So these are the 4 big disruptions that are actually shaping the future of mobility, not only in India, but also globally. Now, coming to what's in it, what is it that we need to do to be part of all these big changes? This is where I want to share with you what are the future skills that those of you who are aspiring to build your career in the mobility engineering space, what are those skills that you would need? So you could be from any one of the streams. You could be from a mechanical engineering, electrical or electronics or computer science. But if you're aspiring for a career in the automotive industry, you need to have all these skills. It's not sufficient if you have only one of the skills. You need to have all these skills, because if you are going to work on an electric, autonomous or connected vehicle, you need to have working knowledge of all these 4 engineering domains: mechanical, electrical, electronics, and computer science. So if you're specializing in only one of these areas, what I would encourage you to do is at least audit some of the courses from the other domains so that you have a reasonable exposure to all the other engineering domains also. But if you want to be truly industry ready, you need to have equal exposure to all these engineering domains that I have listed as the foundation layer. This is the engineering expertise. And this is a big challenge, because in a 4-year undergrad curriculum, you typically get to specialize in only one. But what the industry needs is a combination of all these 4 that you see out here. Once you build this expertise, the next layer is a vehicle integration layer, where you bring in knowledge like quality management, systems management, excellent communication skills, both technical and non-technical. Also a strong customer orientation, understanding what the customer wants and making sure you are able to deliver that through your engineering efforts. This is what a vehicle integrator would need. And finally, if you don't want to get lost in the crowd, if you want to really be ahead of the group, you need to have certain growth traits, which will involve innovative mindset, very good ethics, and intelligent risk management, and learnability. By learnability, what I mean is your enthusiasm and the ability to learn new things on a continuous basis. Because even we people who have been in the industry for many years now, we are actively learning a lot of new technologies. So we talk about lifelong learning, because with the pace at which new technologies are entering the industry, there is so much to learn out there. And unless you are willing to be a lifelong learner, you won't be able to really keep up to the changes. Some of this you'd be able to learn in an academic environment like IIT Palakkad, but some of these skills you'll be able to pick up only in an industry environment. So I would encourage you to take up summer internships in industries, spend 2-3 months in an immersive project so that you get to understand what are the needs of the industry and how you can apply your knowledge to solve problems that are relevant to the industry. I would also encourage you to attend lectures by experts from the industry. I will encourage you to participate in various innovation competitions. In the case of automotive, there's a very good competition by Society of Automotive Engineers called BAHA. There is also a e-BAHA, which is for electric vehicles. These are ways in which you can really accelerate your learning from concepts to practice. So these are things that you can very easily do even during your 4-year undergrad days at IIT. But if you do this, when you pass out, you'll be fully industry ready. You will be good not only in concepts, but you will also be very good in practice of this engineering skills. And this is what the industry needs. Now, domain skills, you're at a very good place. You have a great bunch of teachers to teach you all the engineering knowledge that you need. So I won't spend too much time on the domain skills. But what I'd like to spend time today is on the cognitive skills that we would all need, irrespective of what branch of engineering we are in. These cognitive skills is what is going to make us hugely successful. So I'm going to focus on that. So I'm going to talk to you about 5 cognitive skills, starting with the design thinking. Then I will talk about exponential thinking, sustainable thinking, innovative thinking, and rational thinking. So I'll spend a couple of minutes on each of these areas. Today, the intention is to just give you a flavor for this. And on a future occasion, we'll be able to spend more time and do justice to each of these topics. Design thinking, I'm sure you might have already attended some workshops or done some course on design thinking. But what I want to emphasize here is design thinking is primarily bringing your left and the right brain together. The left brain is very logical, is very good at reasoning. So it's a typical engineer sort trying to solve a problem. But the right brain is more emotional. It can bring a lot of humanities, liberal arts, all that flavor into the kind of understanding of the problem and the kind of solutions that you prioritize. So at the end of the day, you're trying to bring the analytical mind and the emotional mind together to look at the problem from 2 perspectives. One is in terms of human-centered design, because there is a human who is a customer who is going to use this product at the end of the day. How to make sure you don't lose focus on that aspect when you're trying to solve the problem from an engineering perspective. Having said that, it's not rocket science. It's fairly straightforward. The design thinking just takes you through 5 stages. The first is where you empathize with the customer, understand what are their pain points. The second is define the problem. This is again an engineering problem that you are defining, so that by solving that, you will be able to resolve the pains of the customer. Then the center of this is ideation, where you generate a lot of ideas. Then building prototypes. This is where you iteratively refine the idea, and finally test and validate. So the design thinking takes you through these 5 stages to make sure that you are building a product which is really at the intersection of customer desirability, technical feasibility, and economic viability. What it means is the product that you are building, your customer would like it. Technically, it's feasible, so it works fine. And end of the day, you'll be able to make money out of it. So this is what is needed if you want to sustain the business around the new product that you're building. So this is the basis of design thinking. And during my days at GE, General Electric R&D, there was a very good project that I was part of. I wanted to share with you an example of design thinking. This was a MRI machine. I don't know whether you can recognize the MRI machine here. So it has been modified so much that it's very difficult to recognize that this as a MRI machine in a hospital. But the inventor of the MRI, who happened to be a GE scientist, after a few years, he happened to walk into a hospital to see what is the customer experience. In this case, it was a pediatric ward. So the patient is a very young child who is going through this MRI scan. Those days, the MRI scan was not a very friendly thing. You are strapped and you have to be rigid for about 30 to 45 minutes. And it's very dark. It's a very lonely space inside the MRI. So this child was very scared and it was not a pleasant experience at all. So when the GE inventor saw this, he wondered whether he can do something about it, how he can translate this whole MRI scan into an experience that this young child can really enjoy. And that's what made him imagine this solution and convert this whole thing into a kind of a joy ride that you typically see in an entertainment park. This is a Finding Nemo kind of the under the ocean experience that he could create with the right visuals and audio and so on. So friends, design thinking is all about not just building excellent engineering products, but also keeping in mind the customer experience at the end of the day and going beyond your engineering to do those extra things which will make it a great experience for the customer when they use your product. So there are many examples of this. I just picked this one because I was very familiar with it. I was part of the G organization when this happened. That's the reason I picked it up. Let us look at exponential thinking. This is something new. I'm sure you wouldn't have heard much about it. So I'll spend a couple of minutes on this. This goes back to a story that happened in Kerala. So this is a place in Kerala where the king was very fond of playing chess. And one day, a saintly wise man walks into the court and says, I would like to play a game of chess with you. And the king agrees and they start playing. The wise man says that if I win the game, you have to give me grains of rice. The king says, yes, surely I will do. And how do you like it? The wise man says, just give me 1 grain of rice for the first square in the chessboard, 2 for the second, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, and so on. The king does a quick math and says, maybe it's a few bags of rice. No big deal. There are only 64 squares on the chessboard. What's a big deal? He agrees for the match. And as luck would have it, he loses the match. The wise old man wins it. And then he demands for the prize. And now, when the king actually starts doing the math to see how much rice he has to give to this wise man, it turns out that it's not a small number. It's a pretty large number. It's so many million metric tons that it's more than 2,000 times the global production of rice just about 5 years back. It's that large amount. And the story goes that the king, of course, was unable to give. So there is this temple in Kerala where they make this payasam made out of rice as a prasad and keep giving this to all the people who visit the temple till today, because they owe, and the wise man was God himself who had come to the court. So they owe so much of rice to this man that they continue paying back by giving this prasad till today. So now that you are in Palakkad, you may figure out where this temple is. You may get to go there and see whether the story that I told you today is true or not. But the fact is, where I want you to bring your attention is to the exponential growth that you see here. Look at the picture. It was just 1 or 2 grains in the first few boards. But by the time you hit the 64th square, the number is so large that you cannot just even imagine that it could lead you to such big numbers. Friends, the relevance of this story is a lot of the technologies that we are going to leverage today in electric, autonomous, and connected vehicles are technologies that are growing exponentially. I'm sure many of you will be familiar with Moore's law, where Gordon Moore predicted that the computing power would double every 18 months. And the cost of computing has also been becoming half every 18 months. So we are all the beneficiaries of that. Now you see that what was a supercomputer center which had a very big building to house it, today we are able to carry the same computing power in a small smartphone. And so much has happened in terms of the doubling capacity every 18 months that this technology is far, far ahead and becomes so affordable because the price of the technology is also keep falling by half every 18 months. So it is not just this one technology, which is the computing power, but there are a whole bunch of disruptive technologies which are growing exponentially in their performance and becoming more and more affordable. I've just listed a few here. One is the mobile internet, the cloud, the IoT, renewables. The cost of PV is fallen down by more than 80% in the last 10 years. So solar PV is becoming very attractive now. And of course, the energy storage, the lithium-ion batteries, the solid-state batteries, so much of developments have happened. And the cost is also fallen by more than 80% in the cost, in the case of the lithium-ion batteries also over the last 7 years. And so you see a bunch of technologies here which are growing exponentially. And when you're building products, whether it be in the mobility space or any other industry, be it healthcare, energy, anywhere else, you have the chance to bring together a lot of these technologies And your product would be at the convergence of these technologies, which are growing exponentially in their performance, and the cost is also falling down exponentially. That's a huge advantage that you have in terms of leveraging technology and delivering value for your customer. Because this was not the case even 10 years back, but today you are at a privileged position that all these technologies are available to you. So I'll just show you one typical product which uses some of these technologies. This is autonomous vehicle called Oli. Oli is not a futuristic product. It's been in the market. It's been on the roads for more than 5 years now. And what is cute about Oli is it's an autonomous vehicle, but it doesn't have any onboard intelligence. All it has is a few sensors, and there is one version with the LiDAR also. But the computation is done by IBM Watson sitting on the cloud. So this Oli collects local information, senses information to the cloud. All the processing is done there, and it receives instruction as to whether accelerate or apply brake or turn left or turn right. With this kind of arrangement, it's able to navigate through dense city traffic. And we have been collecting data from this vehicle for the last 5 years, and we can even make it smarter than what it was 5 years back. And here you see convergence of many different technologies, whether it's IoT, AI, machine learning. And even when you look at the vehicle, you understand that it is made of very lightweight materials, and almost 90% of Oli is being 3D printed. So there is a whole bunch of technologies which have converged together to create this product that you see here. So this is just one example. You have the potential to create many such innovative products by bringing together the kind of technologies that I've shown you in the previous chart. Okay. So this is a very unique position that you're all in, friends, and I want you to make the best use out of it. The third is sustainable thinking. When you are working on all this high-tech stuff, it's very easy to lose focus on sustainability. And that's something I want to warn you about, that I don't want you to ever lose focus on sustainability. See, look at this picture. I was in Delhi in December 2019, and this is how Delhi looked, the one on the left, all gray and very poor visibility. And then April 2020, somebody snapped this picture in Jalandhar, and they could see the snow-covered Himalayan peaks in the background. Look at the extraordinary improvement in the quality of air over a period of just 4 to 5 months. And this happened because the COVID had happened and there was a lockdown and people didn't go out of the house. So there was 3 months when there were very few vehicles on the road, and that you can see the impact of that. So if you stay put just for a few weeks, in this case about 10 weeks, what it took for nature to heal itself. So friends, I'm sure we're all smart enough. We don't need a health crisis like COVID to teach us this basic fact that whatever we do should be sustainable. So we should all be focusing our efforts on building sustainable technologies and also build sustainable businesses based on these technologies. And there is no two way about it. Innovative thinking is what I'm sure you're all good at. So I'll just share a couple of tools, and then I'll move on to the final piece, rational thinking. So I'll just share a couple of tools, one on divergent thinking and one on convergent thinking, which could actually help you a lot when you try to come up with innovative ideas. The first tool is very simple. Even a first grader can pick it up. This is a noun and a verb tool. See, for example, I'm holding a pen in my hand now. So the noun is pen and the verb is write. So every time I look at a pen, I think of writing and nothing else. So the noun and the verb are so strongly associated for every product that we see around us. So that's the first square, the same noun and the same verb, which is the red one. Now shift to the green one, which is same noun, but a different verb. In the case of a pen, what else can I do with a pen other than writing? This makes you think of new applications for an existing product. It could be a car, it could be a generator set, it could be a MRI machine, it could be any product. Here, what you are asking is, what are the newer applications that I can find for this particular product? So in the case of a pen, it can be used as a paperweight, it can be used as a pointer, it can even be used to harm somebody. Variety of things can be done with a pen other than writing. So that's one mode of divergent thinking. Now, if we move to the yellow box, where we are talking about a different noun and the same verb. I want to write, but I don't have a pen. What else can I use to write? This is basically, if you are in the industry, if you are making a car, you are asking yourself, what can basically do the job of a car? What can replace a car? How else can people get the job done without actually using a car? So these are things which give you idea of how you could get possibly disrupted, because somebody else from a different industry can disrupt you and you will be taken by surprise. So this different noun and same verb actually gives you all the other alternatives, all the other competing products and technologies that could displace you. And finally, the out of the box thinking comes from the fourth box that you see here, which is different noun and different verb, where it's not a pen and you're not writing, but you want to get the job done. What can you do? So typically, what do I write? I want to communicate something. I want to get a message across. So can I do that without using a pen and writing? Of course, I can very well do that. So that takes you to the next level and try to see what is the job you're trying to get done and how else you can do. That's what leads to out of the box thinking and disruptive ideas. So friends, it's very easy for you whenever you work on any problem to go through systematically all the four boxes and list down ideas coming from each of the four blocks. That way you would have actually thought about it in a divergent manner and looked at all possibilities. This is a very simple tool, but can give you a lot of good ideas, especially when you're trying to ideate as a group. This is very helpful. The second simple thing is what we call as adaptive thinking, where, see, typically when you try to solve a problem, you have one standard way of looking at it and solving. But can you really assume different personalities and try to analyze the problem through different lenses? For example, how would Sherlock Holmes solve this problem? So, you know, Sherlock Holmes is very good at observation and connecting the information and drawing inferences. So you'll try to do a better job of the root cause analysis, try to find what is the source of the problem, and rather than just looking at the superficial problem and solving it. If you ask, what would Steve Jobs do? How would he solve this problem? Maybe you look at, can I apply design thinking more out there? Can I use digital technologies to solve my problem? You'll try to bring in a few elements that you all easily associate with Steve Jobs and try to look at the problem from that perspective. And how would Superman solve this problem? Here you are letting go all the constraints and telling, I'm Superman, I can do anything I want. So basically you're telling that I'm no longer constrained. And this is very important for innovative ideas, because technology can easily remove many of these constraints, if not today, but tomorrow. But when you're thinking, you should be able to free up of all the constraints and think of an ideal solution. That's what this would lead you to when you imagine you're Superman and you're trying to solve the problem. Of course, you can pick your own favorite characters. So you can ask how Rajinikanth would solve this problem, or how a young child would look at this problem. So I have a deck of about 108 such cards to help me to break away from the typical pattern in which I think and try to think from different perspectives. So this is fun actually, but this is not silly, because many a times it will lead you to some fresh perspectives and very interesting ideas, which otherwise I wouldn't have got. So I would encourage you to pick up your own favorite characters and try to build your own deck. This is very useful when you run out of ideas. The last one, which is reverse thinking. Reverse thinking is basically asking, what if it's not there? I call it as WIN. It's a very easy acronym to remember. So here we are basically challenging the assumptions. Okay, suppose I want you to design a very innovative school. Typically, you will have assumptions like, I need a teacher, I need a building, I need to conduct exams. Of course, I need students. So a WIN school is a reverse school. Here there is no teacher, no building, no exams, no students. Looks crazy. What is the point of having such a school? But actually, if you go through each of this one by one, okay, I don't have a teacher. What can I do? Okay. Then I think of, can the senior students come and teach the junior students? Can students just discuss among themselves and learn from each other? Can I use some videos? Can I use robots to teach the children? Bunch of ideas which I can introduce in a conventional school where there is a teacher. Second, there is no building. Okay, so what? I can conduct my classes under the shade of a tree. There's a school in Kerala which goes on a boat, which goes to different villages also, it moves around. So there are ways in which you can run a school even without a building. Like that, when you look at each of these individually, I'm sure you'll be able to come up with very innovative ideas to implement it. And when you take these ideas and put it back in the original system, where there is a school with a teacher, building, exams, and students, the whole thing becomes very, very innovative, and you'll be able to create maybe 10x more value than the original school. So this is reverse thinking. So in a car, in the context of a car, I can say, what if there is no engine? What if there is no driver? A whole bunch of things I can ask, which will lead to concepts like an electric car or autonomous cars. So this is basically all about challenging the assumptions, which is what all of us as innovators need to do. So this takes me to the last piece. We talked about design thinking, exponential thinking, sustainable thinking, and innovative thinking. Now I want to draw your attention to the last one, which is very important, which is rational thinking. I'll just share two examples of this, and then we'll be able to wrap up. I'm going to give you two scenarios. One is, we have gone for a movie. This movie was supposed to be good, but turns out to be really boring. So would you leave the movie in the middle and go out and do something else? Or would you sit through the movie and see it till the end? Okay. For you to give the right answer for this, there is some background also. There are two situations. In one case, you have spent money and bought the ticket. The other case, your friend had bought the ticket, but he is unable to go. So has given the ticket to you, instead of throwing it away, has given the ticket to you and said, if you want, you can go and see this movie. So you have not invested any money. It looks like many of us, if we have not made the investment, and if we don't like the movie, we'll just get out of the theater, go out and do something else. But if you have paid the money, so suppose you have spent 200, 300 rupees to buy the ticket, then you may force yourself to sit through the movie till the end because you have already invested. So this seems to be a very, very strong cognitive bias that influences a lot of decisions for many of us. Be in the engineering domain or in the business domain, this bias is called a sunk cost bias. Just because you have invested, it forces you to kind of sit through all the trouble and hold on to it. For example, if I have invested a lot on the current IC engine technology, and then it slows me down in terms of letting it go and adapting to electric vehicle, because I'm heavily invested in this. So this is called a sunk cost bias, and it can make you come up with the wrong decision because this is so strong, and many times you are not aware that this bias is what is influencing your decision. The second is the framing effect bias, which I want to illustrate to you. In this case, I have picked up a case where there is an aged relative who is having a health problem and she needs to go through a surgery. So the first doctor that you meet, he says 30% of the patient undergoing this surgery will die. So on hearing this, would you still recommend that your relative goes through the surgery? Then you want to take a second opinion, you meet another doctor who says that 70% of the patients undergoing this have survived. They're all doing well. This is more encouraging. Maybe you'll be encouraged to go for the surgery after hearing the second doctor. But as an engineer, if you analyze what these two people said, they both said the same. One said 30% won't survive, other said 70% will survive. But still, many of us may get convinced by the second doctor and go for the surgery. And this is called a framing effect bias. Okay. So some of these things may look silly. You may wonder, no, I'm smart enough. I may not fall for this. But friends, this is not just two biases that we are talking about. There are a whole bunch of such cognitive biases. And the work of the Nobel laureate, Daniel Kahneman, actually, this was a book called Thinking Fast and Slow, which was published about 3-4 years back. This is a very good place for you to look at if you want to see what are those cognitive biases. And I'm sure you'll be able to identify a few biases that you have. Once you identify, then it becomes easy for you to be cognizant of that and make sure it doesn't interfere with your decision making. I'm sure all of us have some bias or the other, we need to recognize what it is and be careful about it when we make decisions. So today, friends, I talked about a set of future skills that we would need to be successful as mobility engineers. One is the domain skills, which is cutting across electrical, electronics, mechanical, and computer science from an engineering perspective, and also having the innovative mindset and learnability, the right ethics, intelligent risk management, a whole bunch of skills that the industry would need for you to exercise day in and day out. Then I drew your attention to a bunch of cognitive skills that span across design thinking, exponential thinking, sustainable thinking, innovative, and rational thinking. So, our friends, none of this is difficult actually. It's very easy for us to pick up these skills and practice and make ourselves industry ready. So, with this, I want to wish you all a great career. By the time you pass out of IIT and come to the industry, if you have picked up all these skills, you'll have a great career. And what I said is in the context of the automotive industry, but it holds good for many other parallel industries too. So at this stage, I'd like to stop sharing and would like to take any questions that you may have.
I request Sneha to give the questions from the chat box.
Hi, sir. There is one question. Can
Yes.
we just get a word from him about autonomous tractors recently tested by Mahindra and Mahindra?
Sure.
How that will solve our Indian farmers and different condition than Western countries?
Absolutely. I'll be very happy to talk about it. I will also share with you a few videos of our autonomous tractor. In fact, it's a semi-autonomous tractor. And we chose this problem primarily because, see, when many companies were working on autonomous cars, we at Mahindra decided to work on autonomous tractors. There is a reason. If you have been to any of the rural parts of the country today, you'd find that the farmers are finding it very tough because they can't find the labor. Most of the manual labor have moved to nearby towns in search of regular jobs and regular income. Many of them have become construction workers and cab drivers and so on. So the farmer is stuck because he doesn't have people to work on the farm. That's what made us look at how we can bring in technology and automate the entire farm practice but we have to keep it at a very affordable cost to the farmer because the Indian farmer cannot really afford to spend a lot on this. So we looked at solutions which are high tech at the same time low cost. And the other uniqueness of the Indian situation is also the land holdings are very small. Unlike the farms in the West, where you will see large area farms, here these are very small farms. What it means is you need to design a very small, compact tractor, which is semi-autonomous and which can take very sharp turns and which can do a good job within a very small land. This led us to invest on a set of technologies and modify it a lot to suit the Indian needs. And now it's almost a year now since we have made the first set of prototypes and been testing them on the farms. And these are not only semi-autonomous, they are also smart and connected. We have our DigiSense connected vehicle platform on all these vehicles. So they are also smart and connected vehicles. What we are looking at next is the electrification of these tractors. So maybe within a year's time, we would have tractors which bring in all these three things together: electric, autonomous, smart and connected. Sure. That's how we see this space evolving. And this is just one of the building blocks for us. Our bigger vision is to have precision farming happening in Indian small farms. And this is possible. And this is just one piece of the puzzle.
We don't see any more questions, sir.
Sure.
If there are any more questions, I request you to please put
You
in the
could
chat
email
box
it to
immediately.
me. If there are any questions later, you could just email it to me. I'd make sure I look at them during the weekend and I'll get back to you with my responses. Same way, if there are people who want to know more about Mahindra's products, the kind of technologies we work on, I'd be very happy to host you all to the Mahindra Research Valley, which is in the outskirts of Chennai, not too far from your campus. We can definitely host all of you. And we can also look at giving you industry exposure through summer internships. And I really am very eager to be of help in making sure that both the students and faculties of IIT Palakkad are able to get a reasonable exposure to the needs of the automotive industry. And this is best done through collaborative activities, internships, and such visits. So I'll be more than happy to host you. Sure.
Thank you, sir. So there is one more question. How is urban mobility innovations making transitions in India? Is the mindset of people in urban areas in India now conservative as to owning car or going towards mobility on demand?
Sure. The trend is towards mobility on demand, actually. It was going up, it was picking up good momentum, but during this COVID, almost this last 18 months, people are hesitant to use a shared vehicle. But now automotive OEMs are also looking at bringing technology to make it safe, even for a shared ride. So we are introducing a lot of features in the vehicle, which will make it absolutely safe, even if for you to share the ride. So with all these things happening, there will be a revival in the momentum for the shared vehicles. So the trend is definitely towards using the shared vehicle rather than owning the vehicle, at least among the younger customers. And there is a strong trend towards electric, because a lot of these shared mobility providers like Ola or Uber, they'd find it very economical to use an electric vehicle. And because the more you use, the more the benefits you will get, because the cost of fuel is very less and the maintenance cost is also very less. So that way, electric adoption is also happening very fast because of this shared mobility. So this is the next 5 years, you will see all these changes happening in a very big way.
Thanks a lot, sir. With that, we'll have to wind up your session. The next
Thank
speaker,
you.
Mr. Abhinav Anand, has joined. Over to you, ma'am.
Sure.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Venukopal, for the very good talk, ranging from domain and cognitive skills to out-of-the-box thinking and all the aspects of design thinking, exponential thinking, and so on till rational thinking. We really enjoyed the session and hope we can have collaborative work with Mahindra and Mahindra. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thanks for the opportunity. Look forward to it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So Dr. Venukopal Shankar is also exemplified that quality is never by accident, and it is always the result of intelligent effort. This is a quotation from John Ruskin. And this is going to be reinforced by our next speaker. We have with us Mr. Abhinav Anand, who is experienced site reliability dev operations engineer and with a demonstrated history of working in the information technology and service industry. Skilled in Ansible, Python, shell scripting, Linux, SaltStack, Puppet, GIT, NGOs, and many more. He has an experience and is currently working with LinkedIn as the site reliability engineer. He works on site reliability, ensuring that our complex web scale systems are healthy, monitored, automated, and designed to scale. He's also working as operations generalist to work closely with our development teams from early stages of design all the way through identifying and resolving production issues. His experience includes site reliability engineer at Apple for 1.5 years, TCS as site reliability DevOps engineer for 6 years. He has an educational background of a BTech in electrical from West Bengal University of Technology and a master's in computer science from Georgia Institute of Technology. Over to you, Mr. Abhinav Anand.
Thank you so much for the long introduction. So, but I'm really very appreciative of getting this opportunity to talk here. So yeah, hello everyone. I'm Abhinav. I have a small slide, so let me share it with you all. Let me know if you see the right screen, please. Yeah.
Yes, visible.
So, okay. So yeah, hello everyone again. I'm Abhinav. I work as a site reliability engineer. So going forward, I'll use word SRE, which we frequently call, be it like, site reliability engineering or department or site reliability engineer. So yeah, I'm currently working as a SRE at LinkedIn. So I think my introduction was said, but if I have to provide my introduction, this is what I do basically. This will not make sense for now, but yeah, as I'll talk about more about SRE, then it will look like, yeah, there's a somewhat resembles to what SRE does. So before I start, I just wanted to give brief introduction about what is SRE or what is site reliability engineering. So a few questions comes to the mind. Is it operations? Is it system administration? Or is it another name of DevOps? Or is it just fancy name of all of DevOps? So if I have to briefly introduce operation teams, legacy operation teams was supposed to be, or used to be, you have problem with your server, you have problem with your application. If your app is not behaving as expected, you go to this team and they will magically run some commands. Maybe if nothing works, restart the system. Jokes apart, I mean, they will try to resolve your issues and try to run, make your services smooth. Same goes with system administration. So basically, system administrator was or still is a role where a person is skilled enough to debug systems. But nowadays we have two terms basically. One is DevOps and one is SRE. Looks like same, but we'll discuss about it a bit more. So what is SRE? So first of all, I would like to say like SRE was a department which was instated in Google, and they kind of created this SRE org. So according to their definition, it's like if you ask a software engineer to design or design an operations team, this is how they will design it, and they will call it as software SRE. So basically, it's nothing but all about supplying the services that is needed to support your running software. And this SRE team can constitute of many engineers. So you have basically some choices. You either build a team of developers and a team of operations team, but then you cannot call it SRE. So how Google defined it was basically they formed one team, and they took the hybrid model, and basically this hybrid team had both engineers who are skilled in software engineering plus engineers who are skilled in software engineering plus operations. So basically, if I have to say it in layman's term, hybrid model is what constitutes SRE. But then question is, what is DevOps? So because DevOps is kind of defined in similar principle. It's like making development and operations glued together in such a way there's a feedback cycle, and but from the name itself it looks like it's all same, but there's slight difference. So basically, as you can see on the slide also, DevOps is all about what. So basically DevOps is definition like how I want to solve my system, how I want to run my services in production. But SRE is like exact implementation. So we call it as SLA and SLO, which we'll discuss in next slides. But basically, SRE basically defines like how exactly we'll achieve what DevOps has defined. So that's the slight difference. Even in my job title, somewhere I've mentioned DevOps and SRE. So bridge is kind of mixed, but we'll get to know more about it. But all this is good, but now we have defined like what is SRE, but who all can be SREs, right? This is the question. So as I was saying before, Google's definition was, combine people who are skilled in software engineering more with people who are skilled in software engineering plus operations. So in ideal world, how any team defines SRE is like they hire 50 to 60% of the people or the engineers who are more skilled in software engineering. So basically you go through rigorous coding and system design rounds, you get qualified and you get hired as a SWE. And then rest 40-50% are like 85% equipped with software engineering, but rest 15%, they are very strong in Linux fundamentals and networkings. So if you'll talk about Google again, because they have kind of created this, they have one manager and then they have a team of engineers, and this engineer is mix of 50-60% SWEs. So by SWE I mean software engineering and SESRE, which is systems engineering. So at Google, SRE is not a team. SRE is an org. So basically, you have different teams, and you have engineers mix of SWE skills and SA skills. And obviously, this percentage will change depending on work function of the team and requirement of the task to be carried in order to achieve the goal required for the team. And since there's an overlap between how much SREs, how much SWEs versus how many SEs you can have, this structure will change, and this structure keeps on changing for each team, for each department, for each company. So so these are two job requirements from Google. One is for systems engineering role. One is for software engineering role. And we as in at LinkedIn, we do have similar kind of role. So I actually removed the title intentionally from job description, because I want you folks to take a look at it. When you take a look at it, you'll at least I was confused, like which one is for SE and which one is for SWE. So yeah, this is basically SE doesn't mean that you don't have to code. You obviously have to code, but you need skills for systems engineering. So but if I have to sum it up, you can see on the left side, these are like some of the topics you should know if you are ever interested to work as a SRE. So coding and system design are like most important things. And then you have to know about Linux internals, system troubleshooting, and networking. So this is basically for students studying here, so they get an idea about what I need to know if I want to work as a SRE. And SRE has following tenets. So by tenets, I mean like these are some of the pillars on the basis of which you can either define a team or different teams. So basically one, but the core concept will still remain same. If you are part of any SRE group, you'll always pay attention on all these things. Most important thing is like availability and reliability. There's a reason we are called site reliability engineers. Sorry. So the basic difference between availability and reliability is like, I would like to give a simple example. Let's say if I ask, if I go to ATM and, I try to take out some money. So I want 100 rupees, and every time I'm getting rupees in return whenever I, push through ATM. But ATM is not guaranteeing me like, I'll give you 100 rupees all the time. So if it is not guaranteeing me that it will give me 100 rupees all the time, but it is giving me some amount of rupees all the time. So if it is giving me some amount of rupees all the time, it's availability. But if it is not giving me 100 rupees all the time, that means this machine is not reliable. So this is a basic difference which we also try to implement in SRE. We want to ensure like, whatever request, whatever response a request is supposed to get, it gets that response. And the percentage times it doesn't get the request, that's kind of, you say like your system is not that percentage reliable. We also care a lot about latency, especially given, like how industry is growing. Everyone wants to be on internet. And just to give you a rough idea about LinkedIn, we have like, 400 queries per second. So meaning like so basically we have to be very low latency. Latency is nothing but, how much time it takes for a request to get back with a response. So yeah, we always try to design a system which is as low latency as possible, which brings down to performance and efficiency of the system. So you can always throw some more hardware and make it more performant, but there's a balance we need to carry out between what is the right amount of hardwares we need, plus if we can improve on software efficiency. So those combined, we try to capture these parts of SRE. And then there's like different tenets like change management. So we as in like, when I say we, as in I talk about internet, we always need more features. We always need more. We always have more users day by day. We always have more users day by day. So how to cope up with this? So we need to have a balance between balance between change that we can bring versus reliability of the system. So change management is a procedure where we take care of those things. Then monitoring is very important. So we always try to set up monitoring as such that we don't miss any critical alerts. Basically, we don't miss any critical endpoints. So by that I mean we always try to, because systems are going to fail. It's not like, and no system is 100% reliable, but we try to make sure if it fails, we know before it crashes, so that we can recover it. And so that's why monitoring is very important. And then the next part is incident management, which is basically as I was saying, system will fail, but how soon you can recover from it. You necessarily don't know answers for all the problems. You don't know how to fix it, but how soon you can basically reach out to the right stakeholder, right engineers to get it fixed. So having a better incident management in place, having a defined process in place makes it easy. And then there's capacity planning. Capacity planning is basically you are trying to say like, how much I'll need, how much resources are enough so that my services are uninterrupted. So, but we always try to ensure. So in order to achieve all those tenets, we always try to ensure like, we have durable focus on engineering. So if you paid attention to what I was talking just now, I was mostly talking about, how to ensure system is up and running. But that doesn't mean like we are operations guy. So how we define, how SRE does is basically is different again. But basically in most of the companies, how we tend to do it is basically we divide it equally. So basically we tend to allocate at least 50% of the time based on projects which test our software engineering skills, which gives us opportunity to make our system more reliable. So by saying like we want to make our system more reliable, we don't mean that we always keep on monitoring, we always keep on adding resources. But basically for all the tenets, we try to come up with a tool, we try to come up with a software that will do that. So yeah, so how do we achieve this? So basically during quarterly planning, during annually planning, we make sure we have planned versus unplanned work. So planned work is all we call it as like OKR planning, which is basically objective, key, and results. So you define what you want to achieve for next quarter, for next year, and then you get the results. So we try to allocate enough time to each engineer so that you have enough time to achieve your planned works. And then when you are not working on planned works, you are basically handling operation issues. So how can we make our life better? So it's true that we should be monitoring each and everything, but no alerts should be unactionable. So let's say we have set up some monitoring, and when I get an alert, I go take a look and say like, yeah, this is something which I cannot handle, I need someone's help. So in that case, that alert itself should go to that person. So and then we always try to make our system more reliable, working with software engineers or product application engineers who are responsible for developing that product to tune these alerts. But as I was saying, issues will happen, outages will happen. So for each issues or outage, which is critical enough, we plan postmortems, which is nothing but we try to recover from the issues first, make our system recovered, and then we schedule a meeting. And in that meeting, we basically, it's kind of blameless. We don't discuss who did it, why did it. We discuss like how we can prevent it from happening and what we need to do in long run so that we can totally avoid this kind of problem. And how do we get alerts? So we get alerts through on-call. So I want to clear one confusion here, is like, if I'm talking about SRE mode, don't assume like only SRE people or SRE engineers will get on-call. So on-call is nothing but it's literally on-call. You have a phone with you, and you will get an alert if something critical is happening. So if it is critical enough that it needs to be recovered now, or based on times, you have to come online and then fix it. So person responsible, let's say I'm on call for next 3 days. So I'm supposed to be with laptop, and I'm supposed to be somewhere where internet accessibility is there, so that if I get any alert, I can go and fix it. But who am I? I am not just an SRE. I'm the person who is I'm the person who is most desirable, or who is best person to solve the alert. So it can be SRE, it can be dev, or it can be third party. So basically, the stakeholder who can resolve this alert will be the on-call person. Moving on to next slide. And as I was talking about change management, so the tricky part there is like, we always try to balance between change versus SLO. And now what is SLO? So like I was saying, no application is like 100% available. It can be 100% available, but it will fail. It will fail eventually. So we don't claim, we as in LinkedIn or any big companies or any software company don't claim that my service will always be 100% available. But we define something as error budget. We say like, because system can fail not just because of our servers, it can fail because of n number of reasons. It could fail because of hardware, it could fail because of software, it could fail because of latency between user and the nearest POP that it wants to reach. So we always define, so SLO is nothing but service level objectives. So basically all the stakeholders define like, okay, my SLO will be 99.999. So we call it as like 5 nines. So in that case, I have room for error for 0.0001. So that is your error budget. So you say like, I can have this much of error budget, which gives you flexibility to make a change. So your change should never cause errors more than your error budget. So that's the balance we carry out while making any change. And like I was telling you, monitoring is very important. We basically monitor each and every system based on 3 criteria. We call it QLE, QPS, latency, and errors. So QPS is nothing but request per second. We call it as query per second. So we define our monitoring based on QPS because we would like to know, like, we already know like our application will have one node of our application will handle this many QPS. So we need to scale out and scale in based on QPS. And we need to define our strategy, like, how much capacity planning we can do and how much scaling back we need to do. So that will be based on QPS. And latency and errors are basically related to your application. So errors, like I was calling out error budget, you have a defined SLO. you have a defined SLA. SLA is service level agreement. And on basis of that, you define like, if at all my application is dropping error more than error budget, then there should be an alert. And this alert should go to on-call person. On-call person should be able to fix it. We have self-remediation in system. So when I talk about on-call, always assume like, it has passed all the self-auto remediations and still not recovered, and then it goes to on-call person. And latency is about how fast you are able to access your application. We don't want to give bad member experience. So if you are using LinkedIn, I don't want you to basically go there and wait for something to happen. So we try to ensure we have very low latency system, and latency also has latency budget. And we define like, okay, for this SLO, latency has to be this much. And we care about P99. We care about last 1% users as well. So we have alerts based on P99s and P95s. So because we don't want to claim like, all the users are getting a request, but only one fraction is not getting it. So we always care about P95 and P99s. And in technical terms, reliability is a function of mean time to failure and mean time to repair. So basically, in incident management, we have to assume that we don't have to solve everything by ourselves, but do we have mechanism to get it solved within within this function? So basically, it's like how soon you can recover from something if it happens, if you see any errors, or if some feature, let's say you want to post a job on LinkedIn, or you want to apply a job on LinkedIn and you are not able to do it, how fast we can recover it from that. So we always in incident management, basically we define processes like, these are list of steps which we need to do in case something happens. So always assume like you don't have to fix anything. We always ask for help, and it's a evolving process. So once we achieve something, we try to evolve from that, and we make our process even better. So I'll go very short on the change management. This is I have already talked about it, but basically it's about right balance between rollouts and rollback. So whenever we try to roll any software, we always keep on mind like this can fail. So before rolling out something, we should have rollback strategy ready. And in order to achieve to know if this rollout was successful, you have to have a best possible monitoring solutions so that it will detect this is not good, let's roll it back. And last kind I wanted to discuss is forecasting and capacity planning. So whenever you have services in production, for now today, I can tell you my QPS is 400K today, but I have seen there's organic growth, and I have to plan. I have to calculate on basis of my organic growth in past, what will be growth in next 3 months, and we have to increase our resources accordingly. Increasing our resources could also mean adding new hardwares or improving on software efficiency. And how do we achieve that? So one simple calculation is today there's 400K QPS. So if tomorrow I have to go to 420, how much resources we need? Or we test really in production. So at LinkedIn, I mean, I take pride to say this because very few company does it, but every day morning, 7 a.m. US time, we actually take out all our QPS from one of the data center to rest of other data center, and we leave it running for 1 hour, and we see what breaks. And so basically, if your data center was handling 133 QPS, it will get 200 QPS. And so that it gives us it makes us ready for future. So we know how much is the resources, and we have automation in place where it will send email to each and every team responsible for their services. Hey, your service was ranked 3 in terms of bad load testing. So why don't you fix it? So, and then next is chaos engineering. We have implemented it, but Netflix is really good at it. So what they do is, like, occasionally they intentionally fail some part of their services and see how their feature or how their flow reacts. And based on that, they know like which one is more critical than other, and they define or they strategize their resiliency plan going forward. So yeah, efficiency and performance is about measuring the site speed basically. So basically, with increase of all the features, you don't want to slow down your site in general. So I can add many features in LinkedIn. Recent one is like, by the way, recent one is like open to work and hiring. You will see like a green icon which says like open to work. It makes it easy for members to see like who is looking for job. So, but at the same time, we want to maintain site speed. So yeah, boring part is over. So I wanted to talk briefly about how industries have implemented it. So I have 3 companies in mind I can talk about. Let's go to Apple. So I have worked at Apple for a long time as a contractor and then full-time employee. So Apple is slightly different. So they have different orgs based on their product requirements. So I worked for iCloud Mail initially as a contractor. So like I started as system administrator, then switched to software engineering role for monitoring infra team for iCloud Mail. So how Apple is defined is like, now Apple is trying to go to hybrid model, but when I was working there, they initially basically had like different teams for SRE and different team for software engineering. So, but they were collaborating with each other. You get the requirement from software engineering team, you do their deployment, you try to tell them what is going to work and what is not going to work. Similarly, software engineering team will collaborate. They will give you heads up like, we are trying to launch this feature. Let us know what we need to do to make it more resilient. And so, and then as a full-time employee, I worked in software engineering org. I was basically responsible for writing, tool for auto remediation of alerts, also as tool for change management. So my responsibility was more focused on software engineering side. So that's an example about when you work for a team, you work on totally operations side, but when you work for another team, both are on SRE org, but you work as a developer. So Apple is essentially a very big company, so their business requirement is also different for each and every org. So they have defined different strategy for different orgs. And currently, I work at LinkedIn since November 2019. So LinkedIn is kind of more mature in terms of SRE. So how I can differentiate with Apple is like, basically LinkedIn has defined clear cut rule for who will be working on what. So LinkedIn SRE org is defined into 3 sub orgs: data, infra, and product. So basically data is like dealing with the lower layer of the stack. So basically you can read about it on engineering blog. We have NoSQL database, very similar to Cassandra. We call it Espresso database. So and there's a messaging technology tool which LinkedIn created called Kafka, which is an open source technology, and so these are part of data org. Infra is basically designing where your infrastructure, where your services will run. So basically, if you're part of infra SRE, your responsibility is to basically write codes in terms of making tool, like for example monitoring. So at LinkedIn, there's one tool responsible for all monitoring. So its backend is basically time series database, and then you have visualization on top of it. with a lot of options for users. Users by users, I mean, it can be developers, it can be SREs. They can go and set up their alerts for their services. And then product org is mostly defined as, embedded. So you basically, if you are part of product org, you basically work as embedded with the application engineer. So I'm one of the embedded SRE at LinkedIn. So as a job seeker, whatever you do at LinkedIn, basically when you go to linkedin.com/jobs, I'm one of the SRE for that team. We actually handle job posting as well. So as a job poster, whatever you do at LinkedIn, I'm one of the SREs. So to give some idea about projects to see like what SRE looks like. So you can choose at LinkedIn, you can choose what projects you want to work. It's not like you can go choose any random project. It has to be aligned with business. But LinkedIn is a bottoms-up company, so you decide what your projects will be, and if it is in alignment with company business or what we think of where we want to reach, you are allowed to work on it. So from past 1.5 years, I have been choosing my projects and I've been working on it. So LinkedIn is one of the most visited websites. So I chose some projects. One of the notable project was, so initially for job postings, so let's say if any job is posted on LinkedIn and you have set up a rule like, whenever there's a job for, let's say, software engineer, I should get alerted for it. So this used to happen in, scheduled basis. It was not online. So basically, let's say if you created an alert today, this job will run next day morning at 8 a.m. So you'll get a notification at that time. So my first project was to, switch it from schedule-based notification to almost nearline. So nearline is like, when you have Kafka in between, you write messages to it. So as soon as you create any alert and as soon as any job is posted, it creates a Kafka event and it's consumed by your alert basically. And you will most likely get it within 5 minutes. We don't want to make it online because online system needs different resources, but Kafka is very reliable in that sense. So that was my first project. And so that was basically more focused on operations side software. So I took that project because I wanted to get a feel of what operations looks like at LinkedIn. But next project was I've written this tool which is basically
Hello.
it audits your.
Yes, sir. Sorry to interrupt you, but we just have 5 more minutes, and afterwards we'll have the next speaker. So I just heads up. Sorry to interrupt.
Okay. Yeah, no worries. So basically what I'm trying to say here is like you can have mix of projects based on your interest. All it has to do is like it has to align with your team's interest. And I've not worked with Google, but my present manager has worked. And Google has excellent SRE books. They have developed SRE org basically. So you can read more about it. I have links here. You can read about it. But basically, in short, they have embedded culture. They have one manager, which has combination of both software engineers and SREs and SREs. But this is very important. What makes you a good SRE? So basically, you need to have a very strong coding and system design skills. You need to know like how system behaves. You need to have very strong communication. You need to know to convey like what exactly is the problem and what have you done so far, or basically any communication in general, because it's a SRE job can get complex based on how many services we manage. So you need to know the right stakeholder and you need to communicate. And you need to be very calm, because sometimes when you're on call, it can be of high pressure job. So that actually is one of the things why I like SRE. You need to solve problems with a time constraint, which is challenging but interesting. And last not but the list, as we follow no blame culture. So in general, be a good human being. With that, I would like to conclude. So let me know if you have any questions I can help answer, or if I missed anything, would I be happy to cover. Thank you.
Thank you. Sugandha, you can ask any questions that are in the chat box, please.
Yes, ma'am. So guys, if you have any doubts, please type it in the chat.
Okay.
Sir, if I may, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Can you tell us one of the difficult situations where you were put in? Like I saw the first meme you showed. Like this is fine. So I wanted to ask like one of the situations where you.
Yeah. So one of the situation I can speak about is we on job search. So when you go to LinkedIn, when you search for a job, right? I was on call and I was supposed to, I was new to LinkedIn and I woke up with a ping, and then when I logged in, so I was told like, job search is stale. So basically the data that you are trying to search is not available when I know it's available. So being very new at LinkedIn, I didn't know, exactly like what the problem is. But my previous, colleagues or present colleagues, they have done a very good job with, writing documentation. So what we do is like with every alert, we try to make a note as brief as possible, but with the context and, run book, like what exactly you need to do. So I knew like, since it is happening in every data center or every place, I just cannot roll back and software and fix it. But I knew like, I can talk with dev team and get it fixed. So when I spoke with dev team on call, they were also not sure, but literally, I mean, we joined in a Zoom call and we were able to find out like, one config change was done from the downstream. So basically, our services was trying to query something which was changed. And because of that, it was going to, previous stale version of it and was getting data. So it was kind of complex to figure out, but yeah, and job search was kind of stale for 2 hours. So yeah, I thought like, I know I might lose my job, but then yeah, it's part of job.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much for sharing, sir.
No problem.
Thank you, Mr. Abhinav Anand, for elucidating availability, reliability, and performance, and so on the roles, as well as giving us the intricacies of the role of an SRE and a comparative study between various companies as well. Thank you very much for your talk.
No problem.
So
thank you so much for having me.
A few minutes break over here. Is that right, Sneha? Before the next speaker joins?
Yes, ma'am, just 3 to 4 minutes.
Okay. So we will pause and we will continue as soon as the speaker joins.
Ma'am, it seems Ms. Sirisha has joined.
Oh, okay.
I hope everyone is having a wonderful time. I believe the past 3 keynotes have been very, very interesting and very intriguing as well. From 2 p.m. onwards, departments of computer science and engineering, electrical engineering, and civil engineering will be having discipline-wise talks from prominent industry delegates. So our afternoon sessions will be as fascinating as our ongoing sessions. So I kindly request all of you to attend and don't miss out on this incredible opportunity. Thank you.
Ma'am, she's here.
So we'll get started. So we've had 3 speakers already today, and it's been a wonderful
Can you guys hear me?
session. Yes, we can. Welcome, Shirisha. So we've learned from yesterday, we've lived for today and hope for tomorrow, and we have to plan for the future as well. But the important thing is not to stop questioning, as Albert Einstein said. So with that, I would like to introduce our next keynote speaker for the morning, Ms. Sirisha Varuganti. Sorry if I pronounced it incorrectly. She's the Managing Director at JP Morgan Chase. She leads architecture, data, and digital technology for consumer and community banking at JP Morgan Chase and out of India. She brings 29 plus years of global executive experience spanning research, labs, product engineering, strategy, mergers, acquisitions, business development, and consulting across public and private sectors. Most recently, she was the Executive VP and CTO of Architecture and Shared Services for MasterCard and led MasterCard India. She was the first group executive leader in technology for MasterCard outside the US. Her prior work experiences include Tech Mahindra Limited as a distinguished fellow and senior VP and head of innovation, where she was awarded the Mahindra Innovation Award 5 years in a row, 2 National Telecom Awards, Indian Express Group Award for Innovation, and many more. She started her career as a scientist with the Defense Labs. She has a master's degree in electronics and communication engineering and also holds patents in cloud-based versatile system for radiological images. She did an executive management program from Harvard Business School. Her previous experiences include MD at JP Morgan Chase for 3 years, associated with Mobius Works Private Limited for 1 year and 8 months. She is also a member of Society for Women Engineers India Corporate Council and Society for Women Engineers for a year and 9 months. She's been the member of Board of Advisors at Herb Power for 2 years and a member advisory board at Grey Matters Capital. Over to you, Ms. Sirisha.
Thank you so much, for being so kind in terms of reading out the introduction. It felt very flattering for a moment. I'm extremely excited and honored to be here as part of a session that I'm doing for you guys at the IAC 3.0. So thank you very much. The session I've been asked to do this morning is FinTech and digital transformation, something really close to my heart. And what I've done is divided the presentation into 3 segments, and I hope there is some time. So the way I've split this is really to give you a flavor of the landscape of the financial sector globally and the opportunities that it entails. The second is really about innovation. And there's so much buzz around fintech, right? And how it's disrupting the financial sector. So I'll talk a little about fintech and the opportunities therein for large banks like ourselves, and of course, many other banks globally as well. And the areas of relevance in terms of to the banks, not just from a front-end innovation, but in terms of the back-end processes and things like that. So there is innovation, which is at the front end, where the consumers like you and me see. But there is also a whole lot of things that are happening in the back end, right? Then typically the problems that we try to solve are fourfold, which is faster, quicker, better, and at lower cost. And each one of these, I will try and talk about in terms of, how the fintech industry or how some of these solutions that we are developing and augmenting with the fintech segment are helping us address, right? So to the first point, in terms of just giving you the massivity of the global financial segment, right? And before I joined the segment, I didn't realize the amount of innovation that there was and the amount of tech innovation that there was in firms like, ourselves. So just the scale of the segment, right? It's almost a fifth of the global GDP is actually held by the financial segment. Close to that $5 trillion is of currency is traded on a daily basis, right? And it offers close to about 6.3 million jobs just in one geography in the US alone. And if you couple it with everything else, jobs across the globe, it's massive. And in terms of what the banks do, right, it's not just the consumer bank, but there is also a huge amount that we do around investment banking, which is for corporate clients. It is, all the private equity. It is the asset wealth management. It's about investment strategies and so on and so forth. So there is a lot of technology backbone that we actually use for each of these segments. There's a lot around cross-border payments as well. And as you know, there's so much that's happening around cross-border payments, whether it is GDPR, every country has its own regulation in terms of data privacy rules and so on and so forth. So there's much happening on that segment as well from an innovative standpoint. Right? And fraud and risk is another big one in terms of spaces that we look at. And if you look at just card transactions alone, there is $22 billion a year of fraud losses that the banking sector accumulates. So that's an opportunity. I mean, if you talk to me about opportunities to the banking sector, it is about handling data better. It's about fraud and risk. It's about using data to create newer opportunities for consumers, right? And it's also for solving some of these the cross-border payment sort of problems that I spoke about. In addition to that, another opportunity that there is across the globe for the financial sector is close to 2 billion people are in the unbanked and the underbanked segment. And why is that important? Because a lot of financial and fintech solutions today are actually bringing these unbanked and underbanked population into the financial sphere, right, through financial inclusion solutions, and I'll talk about some of them as well. So this is the outlay of the segment, and these are the opportunities that the segment throws. And just JP Morgan alone, right, in terms of the amount of data, the amount of dollar that we handle, it's about 320 petabytes of data that actually is stored on our servers as we manage global data. Then we're talking about, 20.6 billions of global transactions. So it's just huge. And the opportunity, as I said, that it entails is huge. Now, coming to innovation and why is innovation so important? It's important in any sector and segment, not just the banking sector alone. And what is innovation? What is this whole thing about, right? It's about seeing those unseen dots, all of us, in fact, see dots every day. But it's just a few that see these dots of opportunity. That see these dots that you and I probably don't see. And that's how a number of innovations came into existence and being, right? And today we take many of them for granted, whether it is fire, whether it is, the internet, whether it is the laptop, the computer. It can go on and on, right? And this is really about seeing the unseen. And I think, the reason I talk about that is I correlate that very much to the fintechs, right? And these guys today are picking and choosing those areas of opportunities because banks like ourselves are, still managing the vault and trying to do a great job at managing the vault. But there are a lot of these niche opportunities, in terms of providing easier customer experience or better handling of some of those, problem areas that I spoke about. And that's where the fintech segment is coming in. Now, what is fintech? We hear this term every day. We talk about so much of investment that is actually getting into the fintech world, right? Billions of dollars that is coming in terms of investments into newer areas, whether it's in the Silicon Valley, whether it is into, places like Bangalore, Hyderabad. In India, we have multiple of these centers which are the hot hubs for the fintech, right? Now, what exactly is fintech, and what does this segment entail for all of us? Fintech stands for financial technology, and it is really the innovative use of technology in the design and delivery of financial services. Now, what exactly and how exactly is this revolutionizing the banking industry, and how is this actually shaping the future of banking is what I will talk about a little, and of course we can exchange further later on during the Q&A. Now, how is fintech transforming the banking world? We talked about all the opportunities. We talked about the various problem statements that we have within the bank, and there are a ton of new technologies that are coming in, whether it is in AI, or machine learning, peer-to-peer lending. There is a lot that's happening around big data. Blockchain is, again, the new kid on the block, where we're looking at potential areas around blockchain and how it could help the banking sector. Crowdfunding, digital payments. We've seen so much around digital payments happen in India itself during the demonetization phase, and of course beyond, and that's continued. And I think we've seen, again, an upsurge of digital payments during the COVID times as well, right? And there have been many other innovations that have happened around, digitization during this phase. Robo-advisors is another one. And these are just a few that, that are top of mind for me as that I can recall. But there are so much more that is happening in the technology segment, and banks and financial firms are actually looking at augmenting what they have with some of these solutions so that they're able to provide better customer experiences. Right. And as I said, the watchwords for all of us is, can we do transactions faster? Can we provide better user experiences? Can we, provide transactions on card or otherwise at a lower cost? Can we provide a better in-branch experience? Can we provide other services to customers that guys are looking at, right? That they don't have to potentially leave our app on a phone, and they can do many, many more things, right? And I believe every crisis that we've seen across the globe now, whether it is the days of the Great Depression or the crisis of the multiple, crises that we've had in the 90s or 2000s, and there we've had these downturns, and today because of COVID has created opportunities for these fintechs, right? And every crisis, I think banks have been dealing with some of those big problems that they have, around managing the vault. Because if you look at fraud and risk, it's actually increased 600 times. And so the large institutions are being keepers of finances and money, have to take care of those, of really ensuring the customer, money is safe with us. And so there's a lot that we're investing into fraud and risk or regulatory compliances and so on and so forth. And innovation maybe is actually, going on to a back burner when we're dealing with these large crises. And that is the opportunity. And that is where many of these fintechs are actually coming in. And I think it's actually good for the segment. But that is, and as I said, every crisis is an opportunity for the fintechs. And at the same time, right, as banks are dealing with a crisis, as there are these global problems that we have, we see technologies evolving. The way people use technology is also changing because of these times and trends, right? Now, and some of the things that come to our mind about technology and the way things are changing, whether it is the use of the iPhone, for instance, whether it is Airbnb, whether it is, Uber, WhatsApp, WeChat. There's so many of these, newer technologies that are coming in because of the necessity of, during various times. And what we are seeing is there is a huge gap between, the requirements of the customers and potentially what banks are dealing with, right? And the gap is so huge. It's not just the companies that I listed, but some of the very, very large, other tech companies are trying to get into the space. For instance, you see Facebook. There is Amazon as well in this space, right? Facebook's actually, I think, got about 50 different licenses around regulatory licenses in the US alone, which allows Facebook users to actually use the Messenger app for transfer of funds, right? Amazon's the same. I mean, they've recently experimented with offering student loans on their platform. Now, Alibaba is another one that's come into these segments. So the reason I'm calling these guys out is that the opportunity in the fintech space is so huge in terms of just the dollar availability because of the users that there are, right? That many, not just the small startups, but there are these large companies that are also vying for the same opportunity. And and why is that so? If I just call out an application like, say, WeChat, right, which is a messaging app, but is being commonly used for the transfer of money. And and I think in the last year, they've actually processed close to about $8 billion of red envelope transactions. Now, what does WeChat allow for? It allows, one to make investments. It allows you to book, say, a doctor's appointment. It allows you to order a taxi. It allows you to donate to charity. It also allows you to find the date without actually leaving the app. And why am I calling these out? Because these are user experiences that the millennial customers that, guys like ourselves are trying to address use on a regular basis. And that's what these apps are providing. And that's the gap that they're actually fulfilling, where maybe the large, banks are not able to. But the partnership works really well. So, I mean, if we look at the sort of partnerships that JP has established, WeChat's one of our partners. We have a partnership with DoorDash and multiple other service providers because, it is also an opportunity that we do not want to lose, right? And we definitely do want to provide better user experiences. So it's not just trying to do these in silos, but the fintech is also allowing for multiple of these networking opportunities, that there are with institutions like ourselves. And, and I believe, there will be more and more such, right, in the future. And why not so? Because if you are comfortable with sharing, say, pictures on Facebook and you trust, Facebook as much, I'm sure you'd be fairly comfortable with doing a financial transaction there. Similarly, if you're, using the Amazon app to do your grocery or whatever, you would be fairly comfortable to also do a financial transaction using, their application as well. Now, the reason I'm telling you this is because of the segment, what that segment is looking for, and what these enterprises are offering at this point in time. And thousands, there are so many, fintechs that are coming and filling in these gaps. In fact, we've done a lot, of partnerships, as I said, with companies like DoorDash, where this is primarily for getting your food. We also have applications where you can, contain the amount of money that your child can spend, for instance. There are companies, which are providing gamification, or we're looking at those segments of gamification and immersive technologies that we can provide to customers where, and kids are actually happy with such applications. I mean, when I say kids, I'm talking about the millennial customers that we have are really happy with using that. It could be, to bring about a saving habit in a child, or it could be about earning points as we gamify some of these applications, and so on, right? We also are more and more trying to use robo-advisors, and primarily because you must have heard of not just for answering the operational and service calls, but also using robotics AI at the back end to provide, if there is better loyalty solutions to customers. Or it can also be about understanding your user pattern and trying to provide the next thing that you should be doing, right, with the bank or with your own finances. Or if you are, traveling to another location, to really advise you on places to go to, restaurants to visit, and so on and so forth as well. So we're using a lot of these technologies at the back end to ensure, the better provision of services. Now, the other thing, that the fintech industry is doing, as well as not the fintechs coupled with our own, innovation, is things like, as I told you earlier, bringing customers in, right? The 2 billion that are unbanked and underbanked today, who have no access to, say, a bank account, or no way to borrow money. And this is actually, perpetrating this cycle of the vicious cycle of poverty, right? Now, with some of these solutions, we're actually bringing them into the finance segment where easy loans are possible, and many such. And this is not just a developing world problem, right? But even if we look at places like, say, Miami, I think there are 20% of the population is unbanked. So bringing them into the financial space is so important, and we're trying to do that with some of these new solutions, that are now available. Now, the good news really is that for the first time, and this really is for the first time that it's happening in the global financial history, that you're using such applications to bring a large population into the larger financial sphere of, globally. And if you look at the last 5 years, and the focus has really been on, 4 things, if I may call them, right? First, user experience. Second is more convenience. Third is better access. And fourth is the cost. And many more things have helped, innovation that's happening, not just in the fintech and the banking space, but there are allied segments which are helping this, right? The innovation that's happening around devices, the innovation that's happening around networks, the innovation that's happening, which is better connectivity, and so on and so forth. Is what is all of this leading to, right? Today, you see fintech is connected to, connecting fintech to, say, things like IoT or the Internet of Things. And really bringing maybe banking into everyday life. For instance, you're talking about ordering grocery from your refrigerator. I think Samsung has provided that solution. There is, or connected cars, right? There are solutions where your insurance policy can be, brought down based on the quality of driving. And if you are certified as a good driver, you're probably, the car automatically knows that you are a safe driver and automatically notifies your insurance company and the amount of, what you have to pay out is automatically brought down, right? So there are many such instances of the use of technology that are happening because of advances that are happening in other areas as well, right? And the other statistic that we actually look at is, again, millennials and what they would like to do and how they would like to look at things, right? And I think more than 70% of the millennials actually would probably like to go to a dentist rather than listen to a banker. So and the reason I call this out is that is also a problem that we have in our mind when we are talking about better user experiences to match up to every age group of the customer base that we have. So as things are changing, banks too are looking at, really embedding this culture of entrepreneurship and innovation, in more than one ways. Now, what I've talked about is at the front end. There is a lot that's happening on the back end, right, in terms of how we manage data. And I told you about the volume of data that we have. We're talking about close to about 320 petabytes of data that we're dealing with now, and there's a lot of regulatory reporting that we have to do. So we hold data for about 7 years within the bank, right? And that's really country-specific policies that there are, and banks in each of those countries have to keep the data that long. But in terms of storage procedures, right, how do we store that data? How do we ensure that we're not incurring huge costs on data storage? And why is all of that important? Because all of us invest a lot into technology. And you might say, what about a bank and how is that investing into technology and things like that? We invest close to about $11+ billion into technology every year. Now, we would like to have more and more of that investment spent into innovation rather than just running the bank, right? When I say running the bank, it's about storage of data, for instance. We'd like to, maybe store data in low cost, memory rather than really keep all of the data in the same place. So we'd like to classify data based on usage, and we'd like to store it as cold data, warm data, and hot data in terms of the usage of data that we have, right? That is one lever that we should use in terms, or could use or use to bring down the cost of data storage, which is a big problem for us. The second is and data and handling of data and the multiple systems that we have is definitely a huge problem that we try to address. The second is modernization that we go through, right? So, all of us, we've been around for about 100 years. And if you look at the amount of legacy that we have, that's substantial. So moving a lot of that, could be mainframes, could be the way we've architected solutions. So moving away from that into, more from the monolith into microservices-based architectures is another big initiative that we have. The third is, using the cloud better, right? I mean, we banks have historically been slightly slow at moving to public cloud. Of course, we have internal cloud systems that we use, but moving to public cloud, right? That's another huge initiative that we have within our organizations and many like ourselves, which is really, again, looking at speed. And when we talk about speed, the move to the cloud, the move to newer architectures is extremely important. And it's a big, big focus for firms like ourselves. Again, to bring down cost, to ensure we're more innovative, to be able to do things faster, and so on and so forth, right? So the other aspect that we're doing is the data on edge. Again, to be able to really quickly access data if we want to provide better user experiences, to bring in things like chatbots, to be able to provide better offerings on savings to customers, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot that's happening on each of these segments, and innovation, not just to the front end, but innovation at the back end is supremely important for us. And we're looking at each one of those spaces. And in the day of digitization, each of these becomes important. And in COVID times, for instance, we had to move close to 200,000 employees to work from home. So network connectivity, even just for working from home, was a big problem that we had to address. How our gateways were constructed. What did we have to do there to ensure, people are able to really, get the feel of office from home. We actually also did this PPP and the small business loans that we offered in the United States, right? And we were always taking manual applications across counters. Now we had to digitize that whole thing in terms of so there was a lot around biometrics. There was a lot around, that we did. We also had to improve solutions around voice biometrics. So it's really, and there are, as I said, there is some that we do, there is some that we believe, rely on this huge ecosystem of fintech that we support and work with as well. And how do we make it easier for fintechs to work with us? There are these APIs, that we open up externally, and need to be very careful when we do that, because it opens, it makes us and our networks very vulnerable to as the data hubs increase, right? So there is a lot for us to look as we kind of look at the external ecosystem. Now, in all this, and there is so much happening, and the space is so interesting. And you name an area, and today I see that extremely, extremely relevant in a banking or a financial segment space, right? So that's all I have today. I just wanted to tell you that it's an extremely exciting time, and there is just so much happening, and the opportunity in the space is so very vast. And we constantly look for partnership and great brains like yourselves to come in and support us in this endeavor as we look at creating more exciting services for the consumers. So that's about it.
Thank you, Ms. Sirisha. I'll call Shrujan to ask the questions from the chat box. Shrujan?
Yes. Sorry for the little response. Anyone has any questions? You can put them in the chat box.
Yeah, so I have a hard stop at 12:15. I think we have about 5 minutes for questions, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure. So we do have one question from a student. So what is the extent of acceptance / approval among the corporate banks and fintechs of blockchain, as it can help pass the data localization and privacy regulations of different countries due to its very decentralized and secure approach towards the transactions?
Actually, very much. In fact, we have the JP Morgan Research Labs where we're doing a lot on blockchain technologies and the use of blockchain technologies in multiple of our spheres, right? So whether it is for regulatory, whether it is for fraud and risk, there are multiple areas that we have. And we've actually done a lot of early POCs. We've done, a lot of studies and white papers around that, and we should soon see that deployment actually in, on the field for these technologies. So we truly believe that that's going to be the next big thing, and we've invested very, very heavily in that segment.
Thank you, ma'am. I believe that answers the question from the student.
Any other questions?
Yes, actually, I have one question from my end as well. So, like, how do there are these a lot of different things that you have to incorporate. Like you said, there are a lot of people who are underbanked or not at all, into banking yet. So, how do you try to incorporate all of these, and how do you try to sort of reach out to all of these, people?
Right. So Yeah, so if you look at India itself, right, as a demography, we had before, and I'll give you an example of pre-demonetization and post-demonetization days, right? Just look at the amount of digital solutions that we were using before demonetization, and it was close to that, 15% of the population that was actually using digital channels, right? Now, from there, after demonetization happened, you saw a huge spike in using of digital channels for financial transactions, right? And that went to about 65 odd percent. Now, so that is one example of how we bring in people into the scheme. The second is, I talked about the whole underbanked, which is still 2 billion, and of which maybe close to 60% of that is in places like ours, like India. And what are we doing with respect to trying to bring them into the banking framework? There are multiple efforts that are happening. In fact, when I was in MasterCard, we were trying to see how we could use the MasterCard network in, say, tier 2, tier 3 cities, so that we are able to take the digital solutions and digital platforms into those places as well, right? So that's one of the things that happens. The second is, can we use Aadhaar-based payments, right? And it's not necessarily, so that the Aadhaar-based payments was another big initiative that we had in India. And how can we make, just the transactions or providing of loans, etc., very easy to some of these people based on Aadhaar, potentially, not necessarily with having to open a physical, going to a physical bank and opening an account. And how can we make that a lot more easier through the digital channels? So multiple of these efforts are actually happening to ensure we make things and user experiences so easy that it is, even not just on smartphones, but you're able to use the older devices to be able to get onto the financial bandwagon, right? We also had, and it's just, again, not just in India, we use things like Huduma cards in, say, Kenya, where you are trying to do your entire public distribution system was on the Huduma card, right? So which was your identity, and whether it was government money that was going in, it was going into those accounts, of people with those Huduma cards. So it's just about making things a lot more simpler and easier, so that we're able to bring more and more people into the financial segment with making things a lot less process heavy, right? So I think that's how it's happening. And it's always, there are newer things happening in that space, but these are some of the things that we're doing right now.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you for the answer. And we have one more question, if you would.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, so will blockchain technology make physical banks obsolete?
Well, I am a firm believer that physical banks will probably never get obsolete. And that's what I was saying earlier on, right? We'll always want somebody to manage the vault, because the digital banking, the digitization, and everything that's happening is really the innovation of the edge. We talk about neobanks, right, today. All of that is innovation of the edge. But you truly go back to a large government bank or a large bank that you trust to manage your vault. And if there are no banks, that are giving out, say, loans, that are doing all the other things around investments, managing private equity and things like that, I think the financial sector itself will get badly impacted. So I don't think we can ever do without banks, but there are many, many pockets of opportunity, right, that places like blockchain can actually help us. And the one thing that I probably didn't call out earlier on is, if I look at automation, if I look at everything that banks have globally, they're only 25% automated, perhaps, So there is that 75% is the opportunity. But none of these that I called out today are going to actually do away with banks. Banks are going to continue because they help the economy, they help drive the entire financial system, right? So they will continue to be. But, in terms of better user experiences, can we do things, way cooler than we are doing today? Yes, that's an opportunity that there is for all the innovation. I hope that helps answer your question. That is a great question.
Yes, ma'am, definitely. So
So
we have.
thank you so much, guys. I actually need to drop off. I had a lot of back-to-back meetings today, so I need to drop off. But if you have further questions, you can just send them my way and I'll definitely get back.
Okay. Thank you
Sure,
very
ma'am.
much,
Thank you
Ms.
so much.
Sirisha, for giving us this wide breadth of fintech and the opportunities of innovation in this space. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It was wonderful being with you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Over to you, Sugandhan.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I believe we have come to the end of our morning session. So now we'll all be going for our lunch breaks, and we'll be returning back at 2 p.m. where we'll be having discipline-wise sessions, which will be happening parallelly by industry delegates. So we'll be having talks from people coming from computer science background, electrical engineering, civil engineering, and we'll be having 3 talks from each department. So I kindly request you guys to make sure you're all back at 2 p.m. The talks coming forth are very, very exciting, to be honest. I'm pretty sure some of them you might not have heard before, some of the topics, and these people have immense experience and knowledge, which I'm sure all of us will be able to learn and take away by attending their talks. So I believe we can all go for now and come back again at 2 p.m.
Sugandhan, reminder for the link.
Yes, we'll send out a reminder for the link.
No.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
All the participants,
It'll be
please
separate
note.
link.
Yeah, there are separate links for each of the department sessions. Please make sure you join what you would like to.
Yes, electrical and computer science will have a joint session, and the links will be again sent to you guys as a reminder, and civil engineering will have a separate link.
Chemistry is also having a separate session today. And also make sure to be back at 4:45 in this same link for the project presentation by some of our students.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. So we can wind up for now.
Yes, thank you.